Hey guys, tonight we begin with the deadliest beauty trend in history. In 18th century Europe, thousands of wealthy women painted their faces with pure poison every morning, and they did it knowing it would kill them. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see who is joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Think about your morning makeup routine. You probably check ingredients, worry about skin irritation, maybe avoid certain chemicals. Now imagine deliberately applying a paste containing 70% lead carbonate to your entire face, neck, and chest every single day. Imagine doing this knowing, absolutely knowing, that it is poisoning you. That is exactly what thousands of wealthy European women did throughout the 18th century. And according to toxicology reports analysed by medical historians, they weren't just risking their health, they were guaranteeing their deaths. Tonight, according to what I am going to show you, we'll journey into the perfumed boudoirs of 18th century Europe and meet the women who chose beauty over life itself. You'll discover exactly what was in that deadly white paste, why women kept using it despite watching their friends die, how it destroyed bodies from the inside out, and the desperate measures women took to hide the damage it caused. We'll explore the social pressure that made poison seem preferable to showing your natural skin, the doctors who warned against it and were ignored, the cosmetics manufacturers who got rich selling death in a jar, and the rare women who spoke out against this lethal beauty standard. This isn't just about historical vanity, according to modern dermatologists and historians of beauty culture. It is about understanding how social pressure, gender expectations, and ideals of femininity can literally kill. According to what we'll see, the echoes of these deadly beauty standards persist in modern cosmetic culture, social media beauty filters, and ongoing debates about the price women pay to meet impossible standards. Let's start with what exactly this deadly cosmetic was, and why it was considered essential for any woman of status. According to chemical analysis of surviving 18th century cosmetics, the most popular face paint was called Venetian cerus, sometimes just called cerus, or spirits of Saturn. The main ingredient, according to historical recipes, was white lead, also known as lead carbonate. The substance, according to its chemical composition, was created by exposing lead to vinegar fumes in a sealed container, creating a white powder that could be mixed into a paste. Meet Marie Thyssen, a French aristocrat in Paris, 1750. According to your morning ritual, you wake at 9 a.m. in your elegant townhouse. Your lady's maid, according to her duties, has already prepared your toilet table with the day's cosmetics. You sit, according to the routine you followed since age 15, in your silk dressing gown before the mirror. Your maid, according to her training, begins by washing your face with rose water. Then, according to the crucial step, she opens a small porcelain jar containing a thick white paste. The paste, according to its appearance, looks innocent enough. Smooth, creamy, pure white like fresh snow. The smell, according to your accustomed nose, is slightly metallic with a hint of the vinegar used in its preparation. Your maid, according to the application method, uses a soft brush to paint this paste across your entire face. She covers, according to thoroughness, every inch of skin from your hairline to your jawline, down your neck, across your décolletage. The layer, according to fashion, must be thick enough to create a perfectly smooth, uniformly white surface. You feel, according to the immediate sensation, the paste drying on your skin. It tightens, according to the chemical reaction, pulling at your face. Within minutes, according to the transformation, you look in the mirror and see a face of pure luminous white. This, according to 18th century beauty standards, is perfection. This, according to social expectations, is how a lady of quality must look. This, according to medical reality, is poison being absorbed directly into your bloodstream through your skin. According to toxicologist Dr. Howard Milk's analysis of historical cosmetics, Venetian cerus typically contained between 70 to 90% lead carbonate. The lead content, according to modern safety standards, was extraordinarily high. To put this in perspective, according to the comparison, current regulations consider anything over 100 parts per million of lead in cosmetics to be dangerous. Venetian cerus, according to the measurements, contained over 700,000 parts per million. You were, according to the reality, painting yourself with a substance 7,000 times more toxic than what we'd consider dangerous today. But, according to your understanding as an 18th century woman, you don't think about toxicity. You think, according to contemporary beauty culture, about how pale skin signals your noble birth, your indoor life of leisure, your separation from the sun-darkened peasants who work in fields. The whiteness, according to its social meaning, announces that you've never had to labour, never had to be outside, never had to do anything that might bring colour to your cheeks. The cerus, according to its function, isn't just makeup. It is a social marker, a class indicator, a sign that you belong to the highest ranks of society. Think about that level of social pressure. According to the expectations placed on you, appearing in society without your white makeup would be as shocking as appearing naked. Your natural skin colour, according to contemporary attitudes, no matter how healthy or lovely, is considered vulgar, low class, almost obscene. The lead paste, according to this twisted logic, isn't optional. It is mandatory armour for navigating your social world. Now let's examine the historical and cultural roots of this deadly beauty standard. According to historians of European beauty culture, the preference for extremely pale skin wasn't invented in the 18th century. It had, according to the timeline, been building for centuries. Queen Elizabeth I of England, according to historical accounts, famously wore thick white lead makeup from the 1560s until her death in 1603. Her ghostly white face, according to its iconic status, became the template for aristocratic beauty for the next 200 years. The association of paleness with nobility, according to social historians, made logical sense in a pre-industrial society. Peasants, according to their lives, worked outdoors in fields and got tanned. Wealthy people, according to their privileges, stayed indoors and remained pale. Skin colour, according to this class system, became an instant visual marker of social status. But by the 18th century, according to the escalation of beauty standards, natural paleness wasn't enough. Women, according to the pressure, needed to be whiter than white, paler than any natural skin could be. According to fashion historian Aileen Ribeiro's research, the ideal 18th century face was described in beauty manuals as resembling alabaster, milk, pearls, or fresh snow. The comparisons, according to their consistency, all emphasized not just whiteness but a kind of luminous, translucent quality. Natural skin, according to this impossible standard, could never achieve this effect. Only the lead paste, according to its unique properties, could create this otherworldly pallor. Meet Lady Catherine Howard, an English aristocrat in London 1765. According to your background, you are 22 years old, married to a wealthy lord, moving in the highest circles of London society. You attend, according to your social calendar, balls, concerts, and dinner parties almost every evening. You are, according to contemporary accounts, considered one of the great beauties of London. Your secret, according to what everyone knows but doesn't discuss, is your flawless white complexion achieved through daily application of cerus. You've been using cerus according to your history with it since you were 16 and made your debut in society. Your mother, according to her instruction, taught you how to apply it. She used it according to her own practice, from her own debut at 15. Your grandmother, according to family tradition, used it before her. This, according to your understanding, is simply what women of your class do. The alternative, according to your belief, is unthinkable, but according to what is happening to your body, the lead is accumulating. Every day, according to the absorption process, as you paint the white paste on your skin, lead enters your bloodstream. The skin, according to medical understanding, is permeable. The lead carbonate, according to its chemical properties, passes through the skin barrier and enters your circulation. Once in your blood, according to the poisoning mechanism, lead travels to every organ in your body. According to modern medical understanding of lead poisoning, the symptoms you are starting to experience make perfect sense. You have, according to your recent health, frequent headaches. Your stomach, according to digestive issues, often hurts. You feel, according to your energy levels, tired much of the time. Your hands, according to a new development, sometimes tremble slightly. These symptoms, according to contemporary medical knowledge, are attributed to your delicate feminine constitution or nervous sensibility. No one, according to the blind spot in medical thinking, connects them to the white paste you spread on your face every single day. The lead, according to its effects on the body, does specific and terrible damage. According to hematologist Dr. Philip Landrigan's analysis of historical lead poisoning, lead interferes with the production of hemoglobin, the molecule that carries oxygen in your blood. The result, according to this disruption, is anemia. You become, according to the progressive symptoms, increasingly pale and tired. But here is the cruel irony. According to modern understanding, the paler you get from lead-induced anemia, the more your white makeup seems to suit you, the more people praise your ethereal, delicate appearance. Your illness, according to this twisted feedback loop, is read as beauty. According to neurologist Dr. Herbert Needleman's research on lead toxicity, lead also damages the nervous system. It interferes, according to the mechanism, with neurotransmitters in the brain. The result, according to documented symptoms, includes headaches, memory problems, difficulty concentrating, mood changes, and tremors. In severe cases, according to progression, lead poisoning causes seizures, paralysis, and death. You are, according to the medical reality, slowly poisoning your brain in the name of beauty. Meet Madame de Pompadour, the most famous woman in France, mistress of King Louis V. According to historical records, she was renowned for her exquisite taste, her political influence, and her extraordinary beauty. Her portraits, according to what they show, depict a woman with luminous white skin, the perfect 18th century face. She used, according to historical accounts, generous amounts of Cirrus to achieve this look. Madame de Pompadour died, according to death records, in 1764 at age 42. The cause of death, according to physicians of the time, was listed as pulmonary congestion and fever. But according to modern analysis of her symptoms in her final years, she showed classic signs of severe lead poisoning. She suffered, according to contemporary accounts, from constant digestive problems, respiratory difficulties, and progressive weakness. Her death, according to medical historians, was likely hastened significantly by the cosmetics she used to maintain her legendary beauty. Think about what it means that the most powerful, educated, wealthy, and well-connected woman in France, a woman who had access to the best medical care available, still died from her makeup. According to what this reveals, the social pressure to use Cirrus was so intense that even clear warning signs weren't enough to make women stop. The beauty standard, according to its power, was quite literally worth dying for. Now, let's explore exactly what the lead did to women's faces over time, because the damage, according to its visible nature, created a terrible cycle. According to dermatological analysis, lead is corrosive to skin tissue. Extended use, according to the progressive damage, causes the skin to become thin, grey, and scarred. The lead, according to its effects, also causes permanent discoloration, creating dark patches and spots. Women who used Cirrus for years, according to the outcome, ended up with severely damaged skin underneath the makeup. Meet Elizabeth, a Viennese noblewoman in 1770. According to your situation, you are 35 years old and you've been using Ceres daily since you were 17. That is 18 years according to the calculation of daily lead application. You wake up according to your private reality and look at your face without makeup in the mirror. The sight, according to what you see, horrifies you. Your skin, according to its condition, is greyish and rough. You have, according to the damage, deep pockmarks and scars, dark spots, according to the discoloration, mottle your cheeks and forehead. The damage, according to its irony, makes you more dependent on Ceres, not less. Your ruined skin, according to the visible reality, looks even worse than natural skin would. You cannot, according to the impossibility, appear in public showing this face, so you apply, according to necessity, even more Ceres. The layer, according to what it takes to cover the damage, must be thicker than ever. But the thicker the layer, according to the vicious cycle, the more lead you absorb. The more lead you absorb, according to progression, the worse your skin becomes. You are trapped, according to the situation, in a death spiral of your own making. According to dental historian Dr. Christine Hillam's research, lead poisoning also causes severe dental problems. Lead, according to its effects on teeth, causes the gums to develop a characteristic blue-black line where they meet the teeth. The gums, according to further damage, become swollen and bleed easily. Teeth, according to the progressive destruction, loosen and fall out. Women who used Ceres for years, according to documented cases, often lost most or all of their teeth by their 30s. The tooth loss, according to its social impact, was devastating in an era where dental replacement options were limited and horrific. Dentures, according to the technology of the time, were crude devices made from ivory, animal teeth, or in some grisly cases, teeth pulled from dead soldiers on battlefields. They fit according to their quality poorly and were painful to wear. Many women, according to the choice they faced, simply went toothless, pressing their lips tightly together in portraits and public appearances to hide the gaps. Meet Georgiana, Duchess of Devonshire, one of the most celebrated women in England. According to historical records, she was a fashion icon, political influencer, and society leader in the 1780s and 1790s. She used, according to contemporary accounts, Ceres liberally to maintain her famous pale complexion. By her late 30s, according to letters from the period, she had lost most of her teeth. Portraits from her later years, according to art historians' analysis, show her with a closed-mouth expression and a distinctly sunken look around the mouth characteristic of major tooth loss. She died, according to death records, in 1806 at age 48. Her final years, according to accounts from those who knew her, were marked by almost constant illness. She suffered, according to documented symptoms, from abscesses, infections, digestive problems, and progressive weakness. Her death, according to modern medical analysis, bore all the hallmarks of chronic heavy metal poisoning, combined with the infections that her compromised immune system couldn't fight. The visible damage from Ceres, according to contemporary observations, was well documented even by 18th century physicians. According to medical texts from the period, doctors described women with corrupted skin, foul breath, trembling hands, and wasting sickness among those who used white lead cosmetics. The connection, according to medical writing of the era, was clearly made. Physicians, according to their recommendations, explicitly warned against using Ceres. According to beauty historian Dr. Morag Martin's analysis of 18th century medical texts, physicians repeatedly published warnings about cosmetics containing lead. Dr. Robert Hooper, according to his 1798 medical dictionary, wrote that Ceres destroys the skin, makes the teeth black, causes a stinking breath, and by degrees brings on palsies and epilepsies. The warning, according to its clarity, could not be more explicit. The danger, according to medical consensus, was well known. So why, according to the obvious question, did women keep using it? According to the complex answer, several factors combined to make women continue this deadly practice, despite clear warnings and visible evidence. First, according to social pressure, the beauty standard was so powerful that many women felt they had no choice. Second, according to economic factors, the cosmetics industry had strong incentives to downplay dangers. Third, according to psychological patterns, addiction and denial played roles. And fourth, according to the tragic reality, many women simply prioritized their social survival over their physical survival. Think about the social calculation you would make as an 18th century noblewoman. According to your world, your entire life depends on your appearance and social standing. Your marriage prospects, according to the system, depend on being beautiful and fashionable. Your husband's advancement, according to politics, depends on your ability to shine in society. Your children's futures, according to connections, depend on your maintaining your social position. To lose your beauty, according to the stakes, means to lose everything. When framed this way, according to the terrible logic, dying at 40 from lead poisoning might seem preferable to social death at 25 from failing to meet beauty standards. Meet Dr. Samuel Auguste Tissot, a Swiss physician who published influential medical texts in the 1760s. According to his writings, he explicitly warned women against using serous and other lead-based cosmetics. He described, according to his clinical observations, cases of women who suffered paralysis, seizures, and death from cosmetic poisoning. He begged, according to his pleas, women to abandon these dangerous practices. His advice, according to its reception, was largely ignored. According to letters and diaries from the period, women acknowledged the dangers but used the cosmetics anyway. One French noblewoman, according to her diary entry from 1775, wrote that she knew the serous was perhaps not healthful, but that she could not appear in society without it. The word choice, according to its revealing nature, is telling. Perhaps not healthful is a dramatic understatement for a substance causing paralysis and death, but according to her priorities, social acceptability outweighed health concerns. The cosmetics industry, according to its role in this tragedy, actively worked to downplay the dangers and promote their deadly products. According to business historians studying 18th century commerce, cosmetics manufacturing was a lucrative trade. The profit margins, according to the economics, were excellent. The ingredients, according to the cost, were cheap. Lead, according to its availability, was abundant and inexpensive. The markup, according to the pricing, was substantial. A jar of serous that cost a few pennies to make, according to retail prices, could sell for several shillings or more. Meet Monsieur Deschamps, a perfumer and cosmetics seller in Paris in 1760. According to your business, you own a successful shop selling perfumes, powders, and beauty preparations to wealthy clients. Your best-selling product, according to your inventory, is your Blanc de Perle Pearl White. A serous preparation you claim is specially refined and superior to competitors' products. You advertise, according to your marketing, that your formula is perfectly safe and beneficial to the skin. You know, according to what you've observed, that long-term use of serous causes health problems. You've seen, according to your years in business, customers develop tremors, lose teeth, and sicken. Some, according to the outcomes, have died. But you rationalize, according to your self-justification, that the problems are caused by inferior products from other makers, not your own careful formulations. You emphasize, according to your sales pitch, that you use only the finest white leads and the purest ingredients. The claim, according to its dishonesty, is meaningless. Pure lead is just as toxic as impure lead. You are selling poison and calling it premium quality. The cosmetics trade, according to its practices, used sophisticated marketing to overcome health concerns. According to advertising historians, cosmetics sellers used endorsements from aristocratic clients, testimonials claiming health benefits, and pseudo-scientific language to create an aura of safety and legitimacy. Advertisements, according to their content, claimed that certain formulations were purified or refined in ways that made them safe, even as they contained the same toxic lead as always. Some manufacturers, according to their cynical innovation, even marketed Cirrus as having health benefits. According to preserved advertisements, some cosmetics were claimed to preserve the skin, prevent wrinkles, or even cure skin conditions. The claims, according to medical reality, were not just false but inverted the truth. The products, according to their actual effects, destroyed skin, accelerated aging, and caused severe skin conditions. Now let's explore the application ritual in detail, because understanding the daily routine, according to its revealing nature, shows how deeply embedded this practice was in women's lives. According to ladies' maids' accounts and beauty manuals from the period, the process of applying Cirrus was elaborate and time. The ritual, according to its duration, typically took 1 to 2 hours each morning. Meet Sophie, a lady's maid in a grand household in Vienna, 1775. According to your position, you've been trained in the art of preparing and applying your mistress's cosmetics. Your morning, according to the schedule, begins at 6 a.m. when you rise to prepare everything before your mistress wakes. You go, according to your routine, to her dressing room and set out the cosmetics, brushes, and tools on the toilet table. The Cirrus, according to the preparation, comes in 2 forms. Some, according to the purchase method, is bought ready-made in porcelain jars from perfumers. Other Cirrus, according to household production, is made by you in the still room, from recipes passed down through the household. The homemade version, according to the process, involves taking white lead powder and mixing it with water, sometimes egg white, and often a touch of vinegar to make it spread smoothly. When your mistress wakes, according to the procedure, she comes to her dressing table. You first, according to the preparation, wash her face with rose water, or sometimes with a mixture of milk and breadcrumbs that is supposed to cleanse gently. You dry, according to the next step, her skin carefully. Then, according to the crucial application, you begin painting on the Cirrus. You use, according to the tools, a soft brush made of badger hair. You dip, according to the technique, the brush in the white paste and apply it in smooth, even strokes. You start, according to the method, at the centre of the face and work outward. You cover, according to thoroughness, every inch of skin. The forehead, according to the coverage from hairline to eyebrows. The cheeks, according to the painting, in smooth layers. The nose, according to careful attention, avoiding any streaks. The chin and jawline, according to the blending, fading down into the neck. The neck, according to fashion, must also be painted white down to where it meets the dress neckline. For low-cut evening gowns, according to extra work, you'll also paint the D30 colletage and tops of the breasts. The layer, according to the desired effect, must be thick enough to completely obscure the natural skin and any blemishes, but smooth enough not to crack when your mistress moves her face. Getting this balance right, according to your skill, takes practice and steady hands. Too thin, according to the problem, and the natural skin shows through. Too thick, according to the other problem, and it cracks and flakes when she talks or smiles. Once the base layer of Cirrus dries, according to the next steps, you add other cosmetics. According to fashion, a touch of rouge on the cheeks is essential. The rouge, according to its composition, is typically made from crushed carmine beetles, mixed with talc or chalk, or in some cases from red lead or mercury sulfide. Yes, according to the terrible reality, even the blush is poisonous. You apply, according to the technique, just a small amount high on the cheekbones to create 2 perfect circles of colour against the dead white face. For the lips, according to makeup practice, you use a similar rouge preparation or sometimes a paste made from vermilion, which is mercury sulfide. You paint, according to the fashion, a small bow-shaped mouth. The natural lip line, according to the aesthetic, is often ignored. The painted mouth, according to the ideal, is typically smaller than the natural lips, creating a rosebud effect. More mercury, according to what you are unknowingly doing, is being absorbed into your mistress's body. The eyebrows, according to grooming, are plucked very thin or sometimes entirely removed. In place of natural brows, according to the artificial ones, you paint delicate arched lines using a mixture that may contain antimony or coal. The eyes, according to enhancement, may be lined with coal to make them appear larger. Belladonna drops, according to another beauty practice, are sometimes placed in the eyes to dilate the pupils and create a wide-eyed, doll-like appearance. Belladonna, according to its toxicity, is also poisonous and can cause vision problems and blindness with prolonged use. Think about what this means. According to the sum total, you are applying multiple poisonous substances to your face. Lead on the skin, mercury on the lips, more mercury in the rouge, antimony around the eyes, belladonna in the eyes. Each substance, according to its individual toxicity, is dangerous. Together, according to the combined effect, they create a chemical cocktail of slow death. And you are doing this, according to the frequency, every single day. The application process, according to its completion, leaves you looking like a painted doll. Your face, according to the result, is uniformly white, with 2 bright spots of red on the cheeks and a small red mouth. The effect, according to contemporary standards, is considered the height of beauty. The reality, according to modern eyes seeing 18th century portraits, looks artificial, mask-like, almost corpse-like. But according to the tastes of the time, this was perfection. Now let's examine what happened to this makeup throughout the day, because the practical problems, according to their revealing nature, added to the health hazards. According to the chemistry of lead carbonate, Cirrus reacts with air pollution. In 18th century cities, according to environmental conditions, the air was full of sulfur dioxide from coal burning. Sulfur dioxide, according to the chemical reaction, combines with lead carbonate to form lead sulfide, which is black. Meet Emily, attending an evening ball in Paris, 1780. According to your experience, you've been at this ball for 3 hours. You arrived, according to your appearance, with a perfectly white face. But according to what is happening, your makeup is changing. The lead Cirrus, according to the chemical reaction with the sulphurous air from candles and coal fires, is darkening. Your face, according to the progressive discoloration, is taking on a greyish tinge. Patches of darker colour, according to the uneven reaction, are appearing on your cheeks and forehead. You retreat, according to the necessary action, to the ladies' retiring room. Other women, according to the shared problem, are there doing the same thing. You look, according to the mirror's evidence, at your discoloured face. The solution, according to common practice, is to apply more Cirrus over the top. You take, according to the supplied materials, a small jar of Cirrus that you carried in your reticule for this purpose. You pat, according to the repair, more white paste over the darkened areas. The layer, according to accumulation, is now even thicker. You are absorbing, according to the dosage, even more lead. This reapplication, according to the frequency, happens multiple times during an evening's entertainment. By the end of a ball that lasts until 2 or 3 a.m., according to the accumulation, you might have 4 or 5 layers of Cirrus on your face. The weight, according to the physical sensation, is noticeable. The tightness, according to the discomfort, makes it difficult to smile or talk naturally. But, according to the necessity, you must maintain the white mask. The heat of crowded ballrooms, according to another problem, causes sweating. Sweat, according to what it does to Cirrus, makes the makeup run. White streaks, according to the unfortunate effect, appear on your neck and chest as sweat carries the lead paste downward. You must, according to the constant vigilance, keep checking your appearance and patting away the streaks. Some women, according to desperate measures, try not to dance too vigorously or avoid warm rooms to prevent sweating that would ruin their makeup. The lead paste, according to its physical properties, also cracks as facial muscles move. Smiling, according to the consequence, creates cracks around the mouth. Talking, according to the movement, causes cracks around the lips. Eating, according to the necessary mouth movement, is particularly problematic. Some women, according to the solution, try to eat as little as possible at social events to minimize the damage to their makeup. Others, according to another approach, attempt to eat without moving their mouths too much, taking tiny bites and chewing minimally. According to health historians, the practice of eating while wearing cirrus added another route of lead exposure. As you eat, according to the contamination, small amounts of the lead paste inevitably get into your mouth and are swallowed. The lead in the digestive system, according to its toxicity, is readily absorbed and adds to the lead already being absorbed through your skin. Every meal, according to this additional exposure, increases your total lead dose. Meet Dr. Andrea Vesalius the Younger, grandson of the famous anatomist, writing in the 1770s. According to his medical observations, he noted that women who used cirrus often suffered from severe digestive complaints. He described, according to his clinical notes, patients with constant stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, and severe constipation. These symptoms, according to modern medical knowledge, are classic signs of lead poisoning. The lead, according to its effects on the digestive system, causes intense cramping and dysfunction of the intestines. The constipation caused by lead, according to medical severity, was sometimes so extreme that it became life-threatening. According to case reports from the period, women suffered from intestinal blockages that required dangerous medical interventions. The remedies, according to medical practice of the time, included harsh purges and enemas that weakened patients further. Some women, according to tragic outcomes, died from intestinal perforations or obstructions caused by chronic lead-induced constipation. Now let's explore the impact on pregnancy and children, because according to the tragedy, lead poisoning didn't just kill the women who wore it, it killed their babies too. According to modern medical understanding, lead crosses the placenta and affects fetal development. Pregnant women exposed to high levels of lead, according to the outcomes, experience higher rates of miscarriage, stillbirth, and infant death. The babies who survive, according to developmental effects, often suffer from neurological damage and developmental delays. Meet Marie-Louise, a young French noblewoman pregnant with her first child in 1772. According to your situation, you are 19 years old, married for 6 months, and thrilled to be expecting. You continue, according to your routine, to use cirrus daily throughout your pregnancy. No one, according to contemporary medical knowledge, has told you that your cosmetics could harm your baby. Pregnancy, according to beauty standards, doesn't exempt you from the requirement to maintain your appearance. You must, according to social expectations, continue to look beautiful and fashionable. At 7 months pregnant, according to what happens, you go into premature labor. The baby, according to the birth outcome, is born too small and too early. She lives, according to the tragedy, for only 3 hours before dying in your arms. The doctor, according to his explanation, says the baby was too delicate and not meant for this world. He attributes, according to medical understanding of the era, the death to your own nervous weakness, or perhaps bad air, or excessive emotion during pregnancy. No one, according to the blind spot, considers that the lead you painted on your face every day might have poisoned your baby. But according to modern analysis of infant mortality in the 18th century aristocracy, lead from cosmetics was likely a significant factor in the high rates of stillbirth and neonatal death among upper-class women. The very women, according to the cruel irony, who could afford the best medical care were killing their babies with their beauty routines. You become pregnant again, according to your story, the following year. This pregnancy, according to the outcome, also ends in a stillbirth at 8 months. The third pregnancy, according to the pattern, results in a baby boy who lives for 2 weeks before dying of what the doctor calls failure to thrive. Your fourth pregnancy, according to increasing desperation, ends in another miscarriage. By age 24, according to your reproductive history, you've had 4 pregnancies and no living children. Your health, according to your physical state, is failing. You are thin, weak, suffering from constant digestive problems and headaches. According to the medical reality, the lead in your system is the likely cause of all these pregnancy failures. Lead interferes, according to its biological effects, with every stage of reproduction. It reduces fertility, according to the mechanism, by disrupting hormones. It causes miscarriages according to its effects on the developing fetus, by interfering with cell division and organ formation. It crosses according to placental transfer into the fetal bloodstream and causes direct poisoning of the unborn child. The babies who are born, according to lead exposure effects, often suffer from neurological damage that makes survival difficult. Think about the grief and confusion you would experience according to your reality. You are doing everything society tells you is right. You are maintaining your beauty, fulfilling your wifely duties, trying desperately to produce an heir. Yet pregnancy after pregnancy fails. The doctors, according to their explanations, blame your constitution, your nerves, your behavior. You blame, according to the internalized guilt, yourself. No one, according to the actual cause, points to the white paste on your face. According to demographic historians studying 18th century aristocracy, infant and maternal mortality rates were actually higher among the upper classes than among peasant women in some time periods and places. This paradox, according to its explanation, is partly due to the toxic cosmetics and medical interventions wealthy women use. Peasant women, according to their lives, didn't use Ceres because they couldn't afford it and didn't need to meet aristocratic beauty standards. Their babies, according to the outcome, had better survival rates despite the mothers having less access to medical care and adequate nutrition. Meet the Duchesse de Polignac, a close friend of Marie Antoinette. According to historical records, she was famous for her beauty and her elaborate toilette. She used, according to contemporary accounts, Ceres liberally. She had, according to her reproductive history, multiple pregnancies that ended in miscarriages or infant deaths. Only one of her children, according to the tragic tally, survived to adulthood. She herself died, according to death records, in 1793 at age 53. Having spent her final years in declining health with multiple chronic ailments consistent with lead poisoning. The damage to children, according to another dimension, extended beyond pregnancy effects. Aristocratic women, according to their practices, often used Ceres on their young daughters to accustom them to the cosmetics they would use as adults. Girls, according to the training, sometimes began wearing light applications of Ceres as young as 12 or 13, preparing for their social debuts around age 16 or 17. This meant, according to the calculation, that some women accumulated lead exposure for 20, 30, or even 40 years if they lived that long. Meet Henrietta being prepared for your debut in London society in 1785. According to your age, you are 15 years old. Your mother, according to her instruction, has decided it is time to begin your beauty education. She brings, according to this milestone, a lady who specializes in teaching young women the arts of the toilet. The woman, according to her instruction, shows you how to apply Ceres. She emphasizes, according to her teaching, that you must begin using it now so that by your official debut at 16, you'll be skilled in its application, and your skin will have developed the fashionable translucent quality that comes from long-term use. You are nervous, according to your feeling, about the process. You've heard, according to whispers among servants, that Ceres is dangerous. But your mother, according to her reassurance, tells you that such talk is nonsense from ignorant people. She has used Ceres, according to her example, since her own debut at 15, and she is perfectly fine. Your grandmother, according to family history, used it. Your aunts, according to the women around you, all use it. This, according to the normalization, is simply what women do. The instructor, according to her application, paints your face white. You look, according to your first impression, in the mirror and barely recognize yourself. Your face, according to its appearance, looks like a mask, like a doll, like someone else. But according to the reactions around you, you look beautiful. Your mother, according to her approval, says you look like a lady now. The instructor, according to her praise, says you have perfect skin for Cirrus. You are being initiated, according to what is really happening, into a deadly tradition that will likely shorten your life by decades. According to the progression, you begin using Cirrus daily. Within a few years, according to what develops, you notice that your skin without makeup looks worse than it did before you started. You have, according to the damage, some discoloration and roughness. This makes you, according to the psychological trap, more dependent on the Cirrus to cover the damage it is causing. By your early 20s, according to the likely outcome, you'll be fully trapped in the cycle. By your 30s, according to the probable trajectory, you'll be suffering obvious health effects. By your 40s, according to the statistics, you may well be dead. Now let's examine the rare women who rejected Cirrus and the price they paid for that choice. According to historical records, some women did refuse to use lead cosmetics despite social pressure. These women, according to their fate, faced social consequences for their natural faces. They were, according to cruel society standards, mocked as unfashionable, low class, or insufficiently concerned with their appearance. Meet Lady Mary Wortley Montagu, an English aristocrat, writer, and traveller who lived from 1689 to 1762. According to her surviving letters, she was sceptical of cosmetics and particularly Cirrus. She wrote, according to her observations about women whose faces were destroyed by their makeup. She advocated, according to her position, for more natural beauty practices. Her stance, according to the social reaction, made her the subject of mockery. Male poets, according to their satirical verses, wrote cruel poems, suggesting she was ugly or unfeminine for rejecting fashionable cosmetics. But, according to the irony, Lady Mary was beautiful by any objective standard, highly intelligent, and more adventurous than most women of her time. She survived, according to her longevity, to age 73, significantly longer than many of her contemporaries who used Cirrus regularly. Her health, according to her later years, was far better than that of women who'd spent decades poisoning themselves with lead. Yet, according to the social judgment of her time, she was considered odd and unfashionable for not wearing the deadly white mask. According to beauty historian Dr. Neville Williams, there was a small but persistent counter-movement of doctors, moralists, and some women who argued against elaborate cosmetics throughout the 18th century. These critics, according to their arguments, emphasized that natural beauty was superior to artificial enhancement, that God had given women their faces and it was impious to alter them, and that cosmetics were deceptive and immoral. But according to the effectiveness of these arguments, they made little headway against the power of fashion and social pressure. Some critics, according to another approach, tried to offer alternative cosmetics that were less harmful. Various natural beauty preparations, according to their marketing, were promoted as achieving similar effects to Cirrus without the dangers. These alternatives, according to their compositions, typically used substances like bismuth, zinc oxide, or rice powder as white pigments. Some, according to their claims, were indeed less toxic than lead, but according to their effectiveness, they often didn't achieve the pure bright white that Cirrus provided, and so they remained less popular among fashionable women. Meet Elizabeth Montagu, a wealthy intellectual and society hostess known as the Queen of the Blue Stockings, a group of educated women. According to her practices, she rejected Cirrus and used only light rice powder and natural preparations. She promoted, according to her advocacy, the idea that women should focus on cultivating their minds rather than perfecting their faces. Her circle, according to their standards, valued intellectual conversation over elaborate beauty rituals. But according to the mainstream society, the blue stockings were considered peculiar and unfashionable. The term blue stocking, according to its usage, became mildly pejorative, suggesting women who were too intellectual and not feminine enough. The very fact that rejecting poisonous cosmetics became associated with being unfashionable, according to the twisted values, shows how powerful the beauty standard was. Being natural, according to the social judgment, was considered more radical and transgressive than poisoning yourself. Now let's explore what happened when women tried to stop using Cirrus after years of use. According to the medical reality, stopping suddenly often made the skin look worse before it could recover, creating powerful pressure to resume use. According to dermatological understanding, skin damaged by years of lead exposure is thin, discolored, and scarred. When the concealing mask of Cirrus is removed, according to the visible result, the damage is shockingly apparent. Meet Charlotte, a German noblewoman in 1790 who decides at age 30 to stop using Cirrus. According to your reasoning, you've been feeling increasingly ill with headaches, stomach pain, and weakness. You've heard, according to your information, that Cirrus might be responsible. You decide, according to your resolution, to stop using it and allow your skin to recover. The first morning without Cirrus, according to your experience, is shocking. You look, according to the mirror, at your naked face and barely recognize it. Your skin, according to its condition, after 13 years of daily Cirrus use, is greyish, rough, covered with dark spots and fine scars. You look, according to your perception, far worse than you would have if you'd never used Cirrus at all. The damage, according to its extent, is severe. You force yourself, according to your determination, to go without the makeup for a week. But according to social reality, the consequences are immediate. Your husband, according to his reaction, is horrified and asks what is wrong with your face. Your mother-in-law, according to her judgment, says you look ill and asks if you have a fever. Friends, according to their whispered comments you overhear, speculate that you must be seriously sick. Servants, according to their gossip, wonder if you are dying of some disease. The psychological pressure, according to its intensity, is overwhelming. You feel, according to your emotions, ugly, exposed, ashamed. Every time you catch a glimpse of yourself in a mirror, according to the distress, you are reminded of how much worse you look without the Cirrus than you would have looked if you'd never used it in the first place. After 2 weeks, according to your breaking point, you resume using Cirrus. The relief, according to your feeling when you see your white face in the mirror again, is immediate. You are back in your mask. You are safe. But according to the medical consequence, resuming Cirrus after a brief break means all the damage from the years of prior use remains, and you are now adding to it again. The break, according to its ultimate effect, accomplished nothing except proving to you how dependent you are on the very substance destroying your health. The trap, according to its design, is perfect. According to toxicology, there is another factor that makes stopping difficult. Lead accumulates in the body, particularly in bones. The half-life of lead in bones, according to medical research, is 20 to 30 years. This means, according to the implications, that even if you stopped using Cirrus completely, your body would continue to harbour lead for decades. The damage, according to its permanence, is largely irreversible. Stopping prevents further harm but can't undo harm already done. Think about what this means for your choices. According to the calculation, if you've been using Cirrus for 15 years, your body is saturated with lead. Stopping, according to the benefit, prevents additional accumulation but doesn't remove what is already there. Meanwhile, according to the social cost, stopping makes you look worse and subjects you to social ostracism. The rational choice, according to this terrible logic, might seem to be continuing to use Cirrus. At least then you are beautiful while you are dying. Now, let's examine the scientific understanding of lead toxicity that existed in the 18th century, because according to the historical record, the dangers were actually well documented. According to mining historians, Lead poisoning had been recognized for centuries among workers in lead mines and lead smelting facilities. The symptoms, according to medical texts dating back to ancient Rome, were clearly described. The connection between lead exposure and illness, according to established medical knowledge, was not in doubt. Meet Bernardino Ramazzini, an Italian physician who published De Morbis Artificum Diatriba, Diseases of Workers, in 1700. According to his book, he documented the health effects of lead exposure in various occupations, including potters, painters, and cosmetics makers. He described, according to his observations, workers who suffered from tremors, paralysis, severe digestive problems, and early death. He explicitly stated, according to his conclusion, that the cause was lead exposure. His work, according to its influence, was well known among educated physicians throughout Europe. The information, according to its availability, was not hidden or secret. Medical students, according to their training, learned about lead poisoning. Physicians, according to their knowledge, understood that lead was toxic. Yet, according to the gap between medical knowledge and public behavior, this information failed to change women's cosmetic practices. According to the explanation for this gap, several factors were at work. First, according to gender dynamics, medicine was a male-dominated field, and women's health was often dismissed or minimized. Second, according to economic interests, the cosmetics industry actively worked to spread misinformation and doubt about the dangers. Third, according to social power, fashion and beauty standards overrode health concerns. Fourth, according to the difficulty of making connections, the effects of cirrus were gradual and could be attributed to other causes. The gradual nature of lead poisoning, according to its insidious quality, made it hard for individuals to recognize the cause and effect relationship. According to the timeline, you might use cirrus for 5, 10, or 15 years before serious symptoms appeared. By that time, according to the causal distance, it was hard to connect your current illness to a cosmetic you'd been using for years. The illness, according to other explanations, could be attributed to your constitution, your age, bad air, moral weakness, or countless other contemporary medical theories. Meet Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, the founder of homeopathy, writing in Germany in the late 1700s. According to his medical observations, he documented numerous cases of women suffering from what he called painter's colic and other lead poisoning symptoms. He explicitly connected, according to his diagnosis, these illnesses to the use of cosmetics containing lead. He published, according to his advocacy, warnings against cirrus and urged women to abandon it. But according to the reception of his warnings, they were largely ignored by the fashionable women who most needed to hear them. The women, according to their response, trusted the cosmetics sellers and fashion leaders more than they trusted doctors. The cosmetics sellers, according to their counterclaims, insisted their products were safe and that any problems came from inferior products sold by competitors. Fashion leaders, according to their influence, continued to appear with perfect white faces, implicitly endorsing the practice regardless of what doctors said. There is also, according to psychological analysis, an element of denial and rationalization. According to human nature, people often continue harmful behaviors, despite knowing they're harmful. In the 18th century, according to the specific rationalization, women could tell themselves that the warnings were exaggerated, that the problems only affected other women with weaker constitutions, that their particular brand of cirrus was safer, or that the benefits outweighed the risks. According to the comparison to modern behavior, this isn't that different from how people today sometimes continue behaviors they know are unhealthy. The difference, according to the severity, is that 18th century cirrus was far more immediately dangerous than most modern cosmetics. But according to the psychological patterns, the rationalization and denial mechanisms are similar. Now let's explore the economic and class dimensions of cirrus use, because according to social analysis, beauty practices were deeply tied to class status. According to the economics, cirrus was relatively expensive, affordable to the middle and upper classes, but out of reach for the poor. This meant, according to the class marker function, that using Cirrus signaled that you could afford it, which in turn signaled your social status. Meet Madame Dubois, the wife of a wealthy merchant in Lyon, 1770. According to your social position, you are not nobility, but your husband's successful business has made your family quite wealthy. You use, according to your practice, Cirrus daily. The Cirrus, according to its social function, helps you perform the role of a lady of leisure. Your white skin, according to what it signals, shows that you don't work, you don't go outside, you live a life of refinement and delicacy, but according to the insecurity of your position, you are aware that true nobility sometimes looks down on wealthy merchants' families as nouveau riches. Your Cirrus, according to your strategy, is one way to blur that distinction. If you look as fashionable and as pale as a duchess, according to your reasoning, perhaps the gap between your actual status and your aspirations becomes less visible. The poison, according to this calculation, is an investment in social climbing. The expense of maintaining the Cirrus habit, according to economic analysis, was significant. A household, according to budget records, might spend a substantial portion of its income on cosmetics for the lady of the house. The Cirrus itself, according to the cost, plus the rouge, the powder, the perfumes, the accessories, the lady's maid's wages, according to the total expenditure, added up to a major expense. For families, according to the pressure, this was money that could have been spent on other things, but the social necessity of proper appearance overrode other considerations. Some families, according to financial records, went into debt to maintain the cosmetic expenses required for social position. The logic, according to their reasoning, was that the wife's appearance and ability to shine in society could lead to advantageous marriages for daughters or business connections for the husband, but would repay the investment. The wife's face, according to this cruel calculation, was a financial asset to be maintained, regardless of what it cost her in health. According to the working class and peasant experience, women who couldn't afford Cirrus sometimes suffered social consequences for their natural faces, but they also, according to the health outcome, avoided the terrible toll of lead poisoning. Working women, according to their appearance, had tanned skin from outdoor labour. This, according to class stigma, marked them as low status. But according to the irony, their forced naturalness kept them healthier than the fine ladies slowly dying from cosmetics. Some working class women, according to upward mobility attempts, used cheaper, more dangerous cosmetics to try to imitate fashionable appearance. According to tragic cases, some used homemade preparations with even higher concentrations of lead, or mixed lead with other toxic substances, creating even more dangerous concoctions. The desire to look like higher status women, according to these cases, led to poisoning among women who could least afford medical care or time off from work to recover. Meet Jean, a shopkeeper's daughter in Paris trying to attract a wealthy husband in 1765. According to your limited resources, you can't afford the expensive Cirrus from fashionable perfumers. You make, according to your solution, your own version using cheap white lead powder from a paint shop mixed with lard and vinegar. The mixture, according to its quality, is crude and potentially more dangerous than commercial preparations. But according to your desperation, it is better than nothing. Your homemade Cirrus, according to its effects, makes you seriously ill within a year. You develop, according to the symptoms, severe stomach cramps, headaches and tremors. Your hands, according to the progression, shake so much you have difficulty working in the shop. Your hoped for marriage, according to the outcome, never materializes. Instead, according to the tragedy, you are too sick to work and become a burden on your struggling family. You die, according to the death record, at age 22 of what the local doctor calls wasting sickness. Your story, according to its representation, multiplied across thousands of similar cases, shows how the deadly beauty standard affected women across the class spectrum. The wealthy, according to their fate, died from expensive, well-made Cirrus. The poor, according to their parallel fate, died from cheap, crude versions. The result, according to the common denominator, was the same. The desire to meet beauty standards killed women regardless of their social class. Now, let's examine how the fashion for extreme paleness eventually declined and what replaced it. According to historical timeline, the use of cerus began to decrease in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. The decline, according to multiple factors, came from changing medical knowledge, changing beauty ideals, and eventually the social upheaval of the French Revolution and Napoleonic era. According to the revolution's impact, the extreme artificiality of aristocratic beauty practices became associated with the old regime that was being overthrown. The elaborate white faces, according to revolutionary rhetoric, symbolized the decadence and corruption of the nobility. After the revolution, according to fashion shifts, a more natural style became fashionable, associated with republican virtue and classical Greek simplicity. The new style, according to fashion historians, still valued pale skin but achieved it through less toxic means. Light rice powder, according to the new preference, replaced lead cerus. The aesthetic, according to the shift, moved away from mask-like perfection toward a more natural, fresh look, sometimes called the English rose complexion. Women still, according to continuing beauty standards, sought to be pale, but the degree of paleness and the means of achieving it became less extreme. But according to the tragedy's continuation, the decline was gradual and uneven. Many women, according to their habit, continued using cerus well into the 19th century. In some regions and social circles, according to the persistence, lead cosmetics remained in use through the 1860s and even beyond. The total phase-out, according to the timeline, took nearly a century. Meet Elizabeth Siddal, the pre-Raphaelite artist's model and wife of Dante Gabriel Rossetti, living in Victorian England. According to historical records from the 1850s, she and other women in artistic circles still used cerus despite growing awareness of its dangers. She died, according to death records, in 1862 at age 32 from a laudanum overdose, but her health had been poor for years, with symptoms consistent with heavy metal poisoning from cosmetics. Even when lead cerus finally fell out of fashion, according to the ongoing problem, it was often replaced with other toxic cosmetics. Victorian women, according to their practices, used arsenic complexion wafers to achieve pale skin. They used belladonna drops to dilate their eyes. They used mercury-based freckle removers. They used rouge and lip colour containing lead or vermilion. The specific substances changed according to the pattern, but the willingness to use poisonous cosmetics for beauty continued. According to modern cosmetics regulation, it took until the 20th century for comprehensive safety standards to be established. In the United States, according to regulatory history, the Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act of 1938 first gave the FDA authority to regulate cosmetics safety. Even then, according to the ongoing issues, enforcement was limited and many dangerous cosmetics remained on the market for decades. Think about how recently this deadly beauty culture finally ended. According to the timeline, women were still dying from toxic cosmetics well into the 20th century. The Lash Law mascara scandal of the 1930s, according to that tragic case, involved women being blinded and even killed by mascara containing dangerous chemicals. Radium-containing cosmetics, according to 1920s marketing, were sold as health and beauty products before their terrible effects became undeniable. The full recognition of cosmetics safety, according to its arrival, is actually quite recent. Only in the last 50 to 60 years, according to the timeline, have we had relatively comprehensive regulation and testing of cosmetics in developed countries. And even today, according to ongoing issues, cosmetic safety regulation varies widely between countries, and dangerous products still sometimes reach consumers. Now let's explore the specific medical case studies from the 18th century that documented cerus poisoning, because according to medical literature, some physicians kept detailed records of their patients' suffering. These case studies, according to their scientific value, provide chilling details of what lead poisoning looked like in individual women. Meet Dr. Edward Strother, an English physician who published observations on lead poisoning in 1745. According to his case notes, he documented the case of a 28-year-old woman who had been using Cirrus daily since age 16. She presented, according to his description, with severe abdominal pain, vomiting, constipation, and weakness. Her face, according to his observation when she removed her makeup, was deeply scarred and discolored. Her gums, according to the telltale sign, showed the characteristic blue-black line of lead poisoning. Her hands, according to the neurological damage, had a tremor, and she complained of numbness in her fingers. Dr. Strother treated her, according to his intervention, by having her stop using Cirrus and administering purges and bloodletting, the standard treatments of the era. The purges and bloodletting, according to modern understanding, probably made her worse rather than better, but the cessation of Cirrus at least stopped further lead exposure. She recovered, according to the outcome, partially over several months, though she was left with permanent tremors and digestive problems. The doctor used this case, according to his purpose, to warn other women about Cirrus. He published, according to his advocacy, the case study in medical journals and wrote pamphlets for popular audiences. His efforts, according to their limited impact, convinced some women but made little dent in the widespread practice. According to another documented case from Vienna in 1770, a 33-year-old aristocrat was treated by her physician for mysterious symptoms, including severe headaches, vision problems, and episodes of what was described as fits or seizures. The physician, according to his initial diagnosis, attributed her problems to hysteria and prescribed rest and laudanum. The woman's condition, according to the progression, worsened. She began having seizures several times per week. She lost, according to the neurological damage, the ability to use her right hand. Finally, according to the crucial observation, a consulting physician noted the blue line on her gums and asked about cosmetics use. She admitted, according to her disclosure, that she used Cirrus daily and had done so for 18 years. The physician, according to his recommendation, urged her to stop immediately. She did stop, according to her compliance, but the damage was too extensive. She died, according to the tragic outcome, 6 months later from what was recorded as apoplexy, but was likely a stroke caused by lead-induced hypertension and vascular damage. Her case, according to its significance, was documented in medical literature as an example of cosmetic poisoning. But according to the sad reality, her death changed few minds among fashionable women. The attitude, according to prevailing sentiment, was that she must have used inferior cosmetics or applied them improperly. The fundamental problem of lead toxicity, according to the denial, was not confronted. According to French medical records from the 1780s, physicians at the Hôpital du Hospital in Paris documented numerous cases of women admitted with severe lead poisoning. The symptoms, according to clinical descriptions, included the full spectrum of lead toxicity: abdominal pain, vomiting, constipation, muscle weakness, paralysis, seizures, and in some cases death. The physicians, according to their analysis, noted that most of these cases involved women of the middle and upper classes who used cosmetics, not workers from lead exposure occupations. One case, according to detailed records, involved a 24-year-old woman who arrived at the hospital unable to move her arms. She had, according to the history, been using Cirrus daily for 7 years. The paralysis, according to the clinical diagnosis, was caused by lead damage to her peripheral nerves. Despite treatment, according to the outcome, she never regained full use of her arms. She was, according to the tragic result, disabled for life at age 24 because of cosmetics. Think about what it means that these cases were documented, published, and discussed in medical circles, yet the practice continued. According to what this reveals, medical evidence alone was insufficient to overcome social pressure and beauty culture. The women, according to their choices, continued using Cirrus even when they knew other women had died or been disabled by it. The calculation, according to the terrible math, was that the social death of giving up cosmetics seemed worse than the risk of actual death from using them. Now, let's examine the role of satire and social commentary, because, according to cultural historians, 18th century writers and artists frequently mocked the fashion for excessive cosmetics. According to their works, satirists created poems, plays, essays, and caricatures ridiculing women who wore heavy makeup. But according to the interesting question, did this satire help or hurt? According to literary analysis, much 18th century satire about cosmetics was deeply misogynistic. The satire, according to its form, didn't usually critique the dangerous health effects of Cirrus or sympathize with women trapped by beauty standards. Instead, according to the typical approach, it mocked women for being vain, deceptive, and foolish. The message, according to the underlying theme, was that women who wore makeup were trying to trick men about their appearance and deserved ridicule. Meet Jonathan Swift, the famous satirist who wrote brutal poems about women's cosmetics. According to his poem, The Lady's Dressing Room, 1732, he described in disgusting detail the process of a woman's toilet, emphasizing the artificiality and deception involved. The poem, according to its purpose, was meant to expose the gap between women's artificial appearance and their true selves. But according to feminist analysis, the poem's cruelty toward women's necessary accommodation to beauty standards is striking. The satire, according to its effect, likely made women feel more pressure to perfect their makeup application rather than less pressure to use makeup at all. If the message, according to how women received it, was, "You are ridiculous for wearing makeup, but you are also disgusting without it," then the logical response was to wear more makeup and apply it better to hide all flaws. The satire, according to this analysis, may have actually increased, rather than decreased, the pressure that drove women to toxic cosmetics. Some satirists, according to their approach, did focus on the health dangers rather than just mocking vanity. According to examples, some writers created cautionary tales of beautiful women who died from cosmetics, meant to warn readers away from the practice. But even these, according to their execution, often had a moralistic tone suggesting that women who died from cosmetics deserved their fate as punishment for vanity. According to the more sympathetic satire, some women writers addressed cosmetics from a female perspective. Lady Mary Wortley Montagu, according to her writing, created nuanced commentary acknowledging the pressure women faced, while still criticizing the extremes of cosmetic use. Her voice, according to its rarity, was unusual. Most commentary on women's cosmetics, according to the gender of authors, was written by men who didn't face the social pressures they were critiquing. Think about the impossible position this created for women. According to the social messages, you were mocked if you wore too much makeup, vain, deceptive. You were mocked if you wore too little makeup, ugly, unfashionable. You were mocked if you wore makeup and looked artificial, ridiculous, trying too hard. You were mocked if you didn't wear makeup and showed natural imperfections, disgusting, failing at femininity. The only winning move, according to the narrow path, was to wear enough toxic makeup to look perfect while making it seem effortless and natural, an impossible standard that required, according to the reality, massive effort and health sacrifice. Now, let's explore the manufacturing process of Cirrus in detail, because understanding how this poison was made, according to its revealing nature, shows the full scope of the deadly industry. According to historical manufacturing records, Cirrus production was a specialized craft that employed numerous workers and generated substantial profits for manufacturers. The process, according to its chemistry, was dangerous not just for the women who used the final product, but for the workers who made it. Meet Thomas Greenwood, a Cirrus manufacturer in London in 1770. According to your business, you own a workshop that produces white lead cosmetics for sale to perfumers and directly to wealthy households. Your workshop, according to its location, is in a poor neighbourhood where rent is cheap and complaints about toxic fumes are less likely to reach authorities. You employ, according to your workforce, about 20 workers, mostly poor men and women who have few other employment options. The manufacturing process, according to the traditional method, is called the Dutch process or stack process. You start, according to the first step, with sheets of lead metal. These are coiled, according to the arrangement, into spiral shapes and placed in earthenware pots. Into each pot, according to the next step, you pour vinegar or weak acetic acid. The pots, according to the setup, are then placed in a structure called a stack, embedded in fermenting horse manure or tan bark. The fermenting organic material, according to its function, generates heat and carbon dioxide. The combination of lead, acetic acid fumes, heat and carbon dioxide, according to the chemical reaction, causes the lead to corrode and form a white crust of lead carbonate on the surface. After several weeks, according to the timeline, the lead sheets are removed and the white crust is scraped off. This crude white lead, according to the next step, is then ground into a fine powder, washed and dried. The powder, according to the final preparation, is mixed with water and sometimes other ingredients to form the paste that will be sold as cerus. Your workers, according to their exposure, breathe lead dust all day as they scrape, grind and package the product. They handle, according to their manual labour, the toxic powder with bare hands. The dust, according to its persistence, coats their clothes, hair and skin. They go home according to the contamination spread, carrying lead dust to their families. Within months of starting work, according to the pattern, most workers begin showing symptoms of lead poisoning. Meet Sarah Jennings, one of your workers, a 19-year-old woman who took this job 6 months ago because her family was desperate for money. According to your current condition, you are already showing signs of lead toxicity. Your hands, according to the tremor, shake when you try to eat. Your stomach, according to constant pain, hurts almost all the time. Your gums, according to the telltale sign, have developed a blue-black line. You are losing weight, according to the nausea, because you can't keep food down, according to your awareness that the work is making you sick, but according to your desperate economic reality, you can't afford to quit. The workers in cerus factories, according to mortality statistics, had shockingly short life expectancies. According to 18th century industrial records, cerus workers often died within a few years of beginning the work. The cause of death, according to contemporary understanding, was attributed to painter's colic or lead palsy, terms that acknowledged lead as the cause but did little to protect workers. The factories, according to their operations, simply hired new workers to replace those who became too sick to work or who died. Think about the full cycle of destruction. Poor workers, according to the beginning, were poisoned making the cerus. The cerus, according to the next step, was sold at high markup to wealthy women. The wealthy women, according to the endpoint, poisoned themselves with the product. The manufacturer, according to the only winner, profited from both the desperate workers and the fashion-pressured customers. The entire system, according to its design, extracted money and health from vulnerable people and concentrated wealth in the hands of those willing to sell poison. According to chemical analysis, different manufacturers produced cerus of varying purity and toxicity. Some manufacturers, according to their standards, used relatively pure white lead carbonate. Others, according to cost-cutting, adulterated their product with cheaper substances. Some additions, according to the bitter irony, made the product even more toxic. According to documented cases, some manufacturers added mercury compounds to give the paste a smoother texture, arsenic compounds to increase whiteness, or antimony to improve adhesion to skin. All of these adulterants, according to their toxicity, were themselves poisonous. The most expensive cerus, according to marketing, was advertised as Venetian cerus regardless of where it was actually made. The term Venetian, according to its cachet, suggested superior quality and ancient cosmetic wisdom from Italy. Some manufacturers, according to their claims, asserted that their Venetian cerus was made by special secret processes that removed the harmful properties while retaining the beautifying effects. These claims, according to their truthfulness, were complete lies. All cerus, according to the medical reality, was toxic regardless of its source or preparation method. Now, let's examine cerus use across different European countries, because according to cultural variations, the practice had regional differences in intensity and specific customs. According to France, the fashion for extreme pallor reached perhaps its height at the court of Versailles. French aristocratic women, according to contemporary accounts, used cerus in the thickest layers and combined it with the most elaborate additional cosmetics. Meet the Marquise de Pompadour's lady's maid, Marguerite, working at Versailles in 1755. According to your position, you are responsible for the Marquise's appearance each day, a task that, according to its importance, carries enormous pressure. The Marquise, according to her status as the king's mistress, must look perfect every moment she might be seen. Her beauty, according to its political function, is a tool of her influence. Your skill in applying her cosmetics, according to your job security, determines whether you keep this prestigious position. You begin, according to the morning ritual at Versailles, at 6 a.m. preparing the cosmetics. The Marquise's cerus, according to its source, comes from the most expensive Parisian perfumer, costing more per ounce than many workers earn in a week. You mix, according to the preparation, the cerus paste with a small amount of egg white to help it adhere better and create a more luminous finish. You add, according to the custom, a tiny amount of ground pearl to create an iridescent shimmer. The ground pearl, according to its cost, is itself extraordinarily expensive, but expense is no object for the king's mistress. The application, according to the Versailles standard, must be absolutely perfect. The Marquise's face, according to the expectation, must look like porcelain, like a perfect pale mask without a single flaw visible. You spend, according to the typical duration, 90 minutes applying and perfecting the base layer of cerus alone, before you even begin on rouge, lip colour, and beauty marks. The thickness of the cerus layer, according to Versailles fashion, is greater than would be typical even among wealthy aristocrats elsewhere. More thickness according to the logic, means more perfection, but also more poison. According to English practices, cerus use was widespread among the aristocracy and aspiring middle classes. But English beauty culture, according to some accounts, sometimes favoured a slightly less extreme pallor than French fashion. English writers, according to their commentary, occasionally mocked French women's makeup as excessive, while still maintaining that English ladies needed cerus for proper appearance. The difference, according to its reality, was often more rhetorical than actual English aristocratic women, according to their practices, used plenty of cerus. Meet Lady Anne Clifford, an English aristocrat living in London in 1775. According to your national pride, you consider yourself more restrained in cosmetics than those painted French women you've heard about. Yet, according to your daily practice, you use cerus liberally every day, and have done so for 15 years. The difference, according to your perception, is that you believe you apply it more skillfully and naturally than foreign women do. This distinction, according to its meaningfulness, is entirely in your mind. Your face, according to objective observation, is just as artificially white as any French noblewoman's, and your lead exposure, according to toxicity, is just as dangerous. According to German states, the practice of cerus use varied somewhat by region and by religious influence. In Catholic regions, according to fashion patterns, elaborate cosmetics including heavy cerus use were common among the nobility. In some Protestant regions, according to religious influence, there was more criticism of elaborate cosmetics as vain and worldly, though wealthy women still, according to actual practice, generally used cerus, even if they were somewhat more discreet about it. Meet Greta, a young woman in Munich in 1780 preparing for her first major court appearance. According to your situation, You are the daughter of a wealthy merchant family, recently elevated to the minor nobility. Your family, according to social ambitions, is desperate to establish themselves among the established aristocracy. Your appearance, according to family strategy, is a crucial tool for social acceptance. You must, according to the pressure on you, look as aristocratic as possible. Your mother, according to her instruction, has hired an expensive lady's maid experienced in court cosmetics. The maid, according to her expertise, applies Cirrus even more heavily than you've worn before, explaining that court fashion, according to her knowledge, requires the palest possible appearance. Your face, according to the result, is so white it barely looks human. You feel, according to your sensation, the weight of the paste on your skin and the tightness as it dries. But according to your mother's approval, you look perfect. You look according to the goal, like you belong at court, like you were born to this life rather than raised in a merchant's counting house. According to Italian practices, Italy, as the supposed origin of Venetian Cirrus, held a special place in cosmetic culture. Italian women, according to the reputation, were considered experts in beauty arts. Venice in particular, according to its fame, was associated with the most sophisticated cosmetics. Whether Venetian women actually used more or better Cirrus than women elsewhere, according to historical evidence, is unclear. But according to the marketing power of the name, Venetian Cirrus commanded premium prices across Europe. Meet Lucia, a Venetian courtesan in 1765. According to your profession, your beauty is your livelihood. You must, according to economic necessity, maintain an appearance of youth and attractiveness for as long as possible. You use, according to your daily routine, the finest Cirrus you can obtain, purchased from a maker who claims his family has produced Venetian Cirrus for 6 generations using an ancient secret recipe. Whether the claim, according to its truth, is accurate or invented, you believe the quality is superior. You've been using Cirrus, according to your history with it, since you entered this profession at age 16. You are now 28, according to your age, and you are beginning to notice alarming changes. Your skin underneath the makeup, according to its condition, looks increasingly damaged. Your teeth, according to the dental effects, are loosening. You've lost, according to the count, 4 teeth in the past year. Your hands, according to the tremor, sometimes shake. You feel, according to your health, increasingly unwell, but according to your profession's demands, you cannot reduce your Cirrus use. Your appearance, according to your income, determines your earning power. Any visible decline in your beauty, according to the profession's cruelty, means you'll be replaced by younger women. The Cirrus, according to the terrible paradox, is both maintaining your career and destroying your health. You know, according to your awareness, that many women in your profession die young. You are seeing, according to your recognition, the early signs of the same trajectory. But according to your options, you have no alternative except to continue painting the poison on your face and hoping you can earn enough before it kills you. According to Spanish court practices, the Spanish Habsburg and then Bourbon courts were known for elaborate ceremony and strict etiquette that extended to appearance requirements. Spanish court ladies, according to documented accounts, used Cirrus and other cosmetics as part of the formal dress required for court appearances. The Spanish fashion, according to some descriptions, tended toward a particularly severe style with very pale skin contrasted with dark clothing. Meet Duaya Isabel, a lady-in-waiting to the Spanish Queen in Madrid, 1770. According to your position, you spend much of your life at court, attending the Queen and participating in the elaborate daily rituals of court life. Court etiquette, according to its demands, requires that you always appear formally dressed and made up whenever you might be seen by anyone of rank. This means, according to the practical reality, that you wear full Cirrus makeup for 12 or more hours every day. The Spanish court ceremony, according to its rigidity, is among the most formal in Europe. Everything, according to the rules, is prescribed by ancient etiquette. The cosmetics you wear, according to court standards, must meet certain expectations. Your face, according to the requirement, must be uniformly pale. The painting must be according to the aesthetic, smooth and perfect. Any visible imperfection, according to the judgment, suggests carelessness or disrespect to the Queen and court. You've been at court according to your service for 8 years. Your health, according to its decline, has deteriorated notably in that time. You suffer, according to chronic symptoms, from constant headaches, digestive problems and weakness. You've lost, according to the progression, most of your teeth. When you are not at court, according to your private time, you spend much of it in bed, too ill and exhausted to do anything else. But according to your duty, whenever you are called to attend the Queen, you rise, paint your face white, and perform your role perfectly. Now let's explore the specific damage Ceres did to women's eyes and vision, because according to medical effects, lead poisoning affects the optic nerves and can cause blindness. According to ophthalmologic understanding, chronic lead exposure damages the nerves that transmit signals from the eyes to the brain. The damage, according to its progression, starts with subtle vision changes and can advance to complete blindness. Meet Constance, a French noblewoman in 1785 who has used Ceres for 20 years. According to what you are experiencing, your vision is deteriorating. At first, according to the early symptoms, you noticed that you needed more light to read. Colours, according to the change, seemed less vibrant. You developed, according to the progression, increasing difficulty seeing in dim light. You attributed these changes, according to your assumption, to normal aging, even though you are only 37 years old. But the changes, according to their advancement, are worsening. You now have, according to the current state, significant vision loss. You can barely read, according to the limitation, even in bright light. Your peripheral vision, according to its narrowing, has contracted so that you can only see what is directly in front of you. You stumble, according to the difficulty, when you walk because you can't see obstacles to your sides. You've stopped doing embroidery, according to the impossibility, because you can no longer see the stitches. Your doctors, according to their diagnosis, are baffled. They attribute your vision loss, according to their theories, to weakness of the feminine constitution or excessive reading that strained your delicate eyes. They recommend, according to their treatment, rest, bleeding, and wearing dark glasses to protect your eyes from light. None of their treatments, according to the outcome, help at all. They don't consider, according to their blind spot, that the Ceres you still apply to your face every day might be the cause. According to medical understanding we have now, the lead from your Ceres has damaged your optic nerves. The damage, according to its nature, is progressive and largely irreversible. Even if you stopped using Ceres immediately, according to the prognosis, your vision would likely continue to deteriorate as the accumulated lead in your body continues to affect your nervous system. Within a few years, according to the likely progression, you'll be completely blind. The vision problems caused by lead, according to medical documentation, were common enough that 18th century physicians recognized a pattern. According to medical texts, doctors described cases of vision loss among women who used cosmetics, though they often, according to their incomplete understanding, attributed it to the wrong causes. Some doctors, according to their theories, thought the vision loss came from the cosmetics getting in the eyes and causing direct irritation. They didn't understand, according to the lack of knowledge about systemic toxicity, that the lead absorbed through the skin was travelling through the bloodstream to poison the optic nerves. Meet Dr. Giovanni Battista Morgagni, an Italian physician and anatomist, who performed autopsies on deceased patients in the mid-1/8th century. According to his published case studies, he documented several cases of women who had died after progressive illness, including vision loss. In autopsy, according to his findings, he observed changes in the optic nerves and brain that he couldn't fully explain. We know now, according to modern pathology, that he was observing the effects of heavy metal poisoning, but that understanding, according to its development, wouldn't be fully established for another century. Now let's examine the respiratory effects of cirrus, because according to medical understanding, breathing lead dust was another route of exposure. According to the application process, cirrus created fine particles of lead that became airborne, especially when dry cirrus powder was being applied or when painted faces were being powdered over with additional cosmetics. Women, according to the inhalation route, breathed in lead particles throughout the application process and throughout the day as the dried cirrus flaked. Meet Marguerite, a lady's maid who applies cosmetics to wealthy clients in Paris, 1775. According to your profession, you spend hours each day in close proximity to cirrus as you apply it to your clients' faces. You lean in close, according to the necessary proximity, as you paint the white paste on their skin. When you brush powder over the dried cirrus, according to the process, clouds of fine white dust rise into the air. You breathe according to unavoidable exposure, the lead-laden dust all day long. You've been working as a cosmetics specialist. According to your career for 12 years, your own exposure, according to multiple routes, is extraordinary. You apply cirrus to your own face, according to professional necessity, to demonstrate your expertise and maintain appropriate appearance for your clientele. You inhale, according to your work, lead dust from your clients' applications. You handle, according to the materials, cirrus paste with your hands for hours each day. The lead, according to the total dose, enters your body through your skin, your lungs, and incidentally through your mouth, as you sometimes lick your fingers to wipe away mistakes in application. Your health, according to its state, is failing. You have, according to respiratory symptoms, a chronic cough that won't go away. Breathing, according to the difficulty, sometimes feels laboured, especially when you exert yourself. You cough up, according to the alarming symptom, phlegm that sometimes has dark streaks in it. You feel, according to overall deterioration, weak and often feverish. You've lost, according to the weight change, a disturbing amount of weight. You know, according to your observation, that many women in your profession die young of consumption or lung fever. You are beginning to suspect, according to your dawning awareness, that you are following the same path. According to modern medical understanding, lead particles in the lungs cause multiple problems. The particles, according to toxic mechanism, are absorbed through the lung tissue into the bloodstream. The irritation from the particles, according to inflammatory response, causes chronic inflammation of the airways. The combination of toxic and inflammatory effects, according to the outcome, makes the lungs vulnerable to infections. Women with heavy lead exposure from cirrus, according to mortality patterns, frequently died of pneumonia, tuberculosis, and other respiratory infections that their compromised lungs couldn't fight off. The funeral of a fashionable woman, according to another grim detail, sometimes exposed more people to lead poisoning. According to burial customs, deceased wealthy women were often prepared for viewing in their finest clothes and with their faces painted. The cosmetics, according to the irony, were applied to the corpse to make the dead woman look beautiful one last time. The people who prepared the body according to their exposure handled cirrus in the process. Mourners who kissed the corpse's cheek, according to a common gesture of respect, got lead paste on their lips. Meet Thada says, working as a layer out of the dead in Lyon, 1780. According to your job, you are called when wealthy people die to prepare the bodies for burial. Part of your duty, according to the expectations, is to make the corpse look as good as possible for the viewing and funeral. For women, according to the requirements, this means applying cosmetics, including cirrus, to create the pale, perfect appearance that was admired in life. You've noticed, according to your observation, that you frequently become ill after preparing the bodies of women who died relatively young. You attributed this, according to your theory, to exposure to whatever disease killed them. You didn't realize, according to the hidden danger, that many of these women died from the same lead poisoning you were being exposed to as you painted their dead faces. The serous you applied to corpses, according to the exposure route, was poisoning you just as it had poisoned them. You were, according to the terrible cycle, perpetuating the practice, even in death. Now let's explore what happened to the women who survived years of serous use. According to the long-term effects, women who used serous for decades and survived were often left with permanent damage. According to medical understanding, chronic lead poisoning causes irreversible harm to multiple body systems. The damage, according to its persistence, remained even after exposure stopped. Meet the Comtesse de Sabran, a French aristocrat who lived from 1749 to 1827. An unusually long life for a woman of her time and class. According to her correspondence and the observations of those who knew her, she used serous in her youth, but stopped in her 30s. She lived, according to the remarkable fact, to age 78. But according to her health in later years, she suffered from chronic digestive problems, tremors, and what was described as nervous complaints. These symptoms, according to modern diagnosis, are consistent with residual effects of lead poisoning from her earlier cosmetics use. She was, according to her good fortune, lucky in that she stopped using serous relatively early, and her body was able to eliminate some of the lead over the decades that followed. But according to the permanent effects, she was never entirely healthy. The lead, according to its long-term presence, remained in her bones and continued to cause subtle problems for the rest of her long life. According to medical research, lead stored in bones is released slowly back into the bloodstream over many years. This means, according to the implications, that even decades after stopping exposure, former lead users can experience symptoms. In later life, according to the mechanism when bone is broken down during normal aging or during illness, the stored lead is released and can cause renewed symptoms. A woman, according to this terrible legacy, might be poisoned by her own skeleton releasing lead she absorbed 40 years earlier. Some women, according to documented cases, experienced neurological deterioration in old age that was likely related to lifetime lead exposure. The symptoms, according to modern understanding, included dementia, like cognitive decline, motor problems, and behavioral changes. At the time, according to contemporary attribution, these were simply blamed on age or female hysteria. The connection to decades-old cosmetics use, according to the lack of recognition, was not made. Now, let's explore the kidney damage caused by lead exposure from serous. Because according to medical understanding, the kidneys are one of the organs most severely affected by chronic lead poisoning. According to nephrology, the kidneys filter toxins from the blood, and lead, according to its effects, damages the kidney tissue over time. The damage, according to its progression, is cumulative and largely irreversible. Meet Antoinette, a French aristocrat in 1790, who has used serous for 25 years. According to what you are experiencing, you've been feeling increasingly unwell for the past several years. You are always tired, according to chronic fatigue, no matter how much you rest. You feel, according to the symptom, nauseated much of the time. Your face and ankles, according to visible swelling, are puffy. You've noticed, according to alarming changes, that you are urinating less frequently than you used to, and when you do urinate, the urine is often dark and cloudy. Your doctors, according to their examinations, are concerned. They've observed, according to their findings, that you have significant swelling in your legs and face. Your skin, according to its appearance, has taken on a sallow yellowish tinge. You complain, according to your symptoms, of back pain in the area of your kidneys. The doctors, according to their diagnosis, say you have dropsy or kidney disease, but they can't explain, according to their limitation, why a woman of your relatively young age, 43, has developed such severe kidney problems. According to modern medical understanding, the lead from your decades of serous use has destroyed your kidneys. Lead, according to the mechanism, damages the delicate filtering structures in the kidneys called nephrons. Once damaged, according to the irreversible nature, nephrons don't regenerate. Your kidneys, according to their function, can no longer adequately filter wastes from your blood or regulate fluid balance. The fluid, according to the failing system, is accumulating in your tissues, causing the swelling. The toxins, according to the buildup that should be eliminated, are accumulating in your blood, making you feel sick. Your prognosis, according to medical reality, is grim. Without functioning kidneys, according to the inevitable progression, toxins will continue to accumulate in your body. You'll become increasingly swollen, increasingly sick, increasingly toxic. Within months, according to the likely timeline, you'll die of kidney failure. There is no treatment, according to 18th century medicine, that can help you. The dialysis that might extend your life, according to medical history, won't be invented for another 150 years. The kidney transplant that might save you, according to surgical advancement, is more than 170 years in the future. You are going to die, according to the certainty, from the cosmetic you thought made you beautiful. According to medical documentation from the 18th century, kidney disease among fashionable women was common enough that physicians remarked on it. According to medical texts, doctors described patterns of kidney failure, particularly affecting wealthy women in their 30s and 40s. Some physicians, according to their suspicions, wondered if there might be a connection to cosmetics or lifestyle, but the mechanism, according to their inability to trace it, wasn't understood. Meet Dr. John Abernathy, an English physician practicing in London in the 1790s. According to your clinical observations, you've noticed an alarming pattern. You've treated, according to your patient records, numerous women of the upper classes for kidney disease. The women, according to the demographics, are relatively young, mostly in their 30s and 40s. They present, according to typical symptoms, with swelling, fatigue, changes in urination, and progressive decline, leading to death. You've begun, according to your hypothesis, to suspect that something in these women's shared lifestyle might be causing the epidemic of kidney disease you're observing. You question, according to your investigation, your patients carefully about their habits, diet, and practices. You notice, according to the correlation, that the women who are sickest tend to be those who are most fashionable, who attend the most social events, who are most concerned with their appearance. You begin to wonder, according to your theory, if cosmetics might be involved. You publish, according to your advocacy, a paper suggesting that certain beauty practices might be harmful to health, and particularly to kidney function. You recommend, according to your advice, that women reduce their use of cosmetics, particularly those containing heavy metals. Your paper, according to its reception, is largely ignored. The cosmetics industry, according to their response, dismisses your claims as unsupported speculation. Fashionable women, according to their reaction, are offended by the suggestion that their beauty practices are harmful. Your warnings, according to the outcome, change almost nothing. Women continue to poison their kidneys with serous, and you continue to watch them die. Now let's examine the cardiovascular effects of lead poisoning from serous, because according to cardiology, lead damages the heart and blood vessels in multiple ways. According to the mechanism, lead causes hypertension, high blood pressure, by affecting the smooth muscle in blood vessel walls and by damaging kidney function. The high blood pressure, according to its consequences, increases the risk of heart attack and stroke. Lead also, according to other effects, directly damages heart muscle and interferes with the heart's electrical system. Meet Cecile, a French noblewoman in 1785 who has been using serous for 18 years. According to what is happening to you, you've been experiencing increasingly severe headaches. The headaches, according to their nature, are intense, throbbing pains that make it hard to think or function. Sometimes, according to the episodes, the headaches are accompanied by visual disturbances where you see flashing lights or have trouble focusing your eyes. Occasionally, according to frightening symptoms, you feel dizzy and disoriented. One afternoon, according to a catastrophic event, you are sitting at your dressing table having your hair arranged when you feel a sudden, terrible headache unlike anything you've experienced before. The room, according to your perception, starts spinning. You try to speak, according to your attempt, but your words come out slurred and incomprehensible. Your right arm, according to the paralysis, goes limp and falls to your side. You slump according to loss of control in your chair. Your terrified lady's maid, according to her response, calls for help. A physician, according to the emergency, is summoned. He finds, according to his examination, that the entire right side of your body is paralyzed. You cannot, according to the disability, move your right arm or leg, the right side of your face, according to the drooping sags. Your speech, according to the impairment, is badly slurred. The doctor, according to his diagnosis, says you've suffered an apoplexy or stroke. According to modern medical understanding, the lead from your serous use caused your stroke. The lead, according to the mechanism, caused severe hypertension that damaged your blood vessels. A weakened blood vessel in your brain, according to what happened, either burst hemorrhagic stroke or a blood clot blocked it, ischemic stroke. Part of your brain, according to the damage, has been deprived of oxygen and has died. The paralysis and speech problems, according to the neurological effects, are caused by the dead brain tissue's inability to control those functions. You survive according to the outcome, but you are left severely disabled. The paralysis, according to its permanence, never fully resolves. You regain, according to partial recovery, some movement in your right side, but you walk, according to the continuing disability, with a pronounced limp and need assistance. Your speech, according to improvement, gets somewhat better but remains slurred. Your right hand, according to the fine motor loss, is essentially useless. You cannot, according to the functional limitation, write, do needlework or perform any delicate tasks. At age 41, according to the tragedy, you are effectively an invalid for the rest of your life. And yet, according to the bitter irony, you continue to wear serous. Your appearance, according to your priorities, still matters to you. You still, according to the continuation, have your maid paint your face white each day. The serous, according to the ongoing damage, is still poisoning you, still raising your blood pressure, still damaging what remains of your health. The stroke, according to the lesson you didn't learn, hasn't convinced you to stop using the cosmetic that caused it. You are so trapped, according to the psychology, by the beauty standard that you'll risk another stroke rather than appear in public with a natural face. According to medical literature from the period, strokes among young women were noted but not well understood. Physicians, according to their theories, attributed strokes in young women to hysteria, excessive emotion, tight corseting, or vague nervous conditions. The role of lead poisoning, according to the connection that wasn't made, remained largely unrecognized. Women, according to the tragic pattern, had strokes from their cosmetics and continued using the cosmetics even after the strokes. Now let's explore the multi-generational tragedy of serous use within families, because according to social patterns, the practice was passed from mother to daughter, creating dynasties of lead poisoning. According to family tradition, mothers taught daughters their beauty rituals, including the use of serous. Young girls, according to the practice, watched their mothers apply the white paste daily and understood that this was what women did. When the time came, according to the rite of passage, to begin preparing for society, daughters were initiated into the same deadly practices that had damaged or killed their mothers. Meet the Duchess of Devonshire, Georgiana Spencer, and her daughter Lady Georgiana Cavendish, spanning 3 generations of one of England's most prominent families. According to historical records, the Duchess, the elder Georgiana, who lived from 1757 to 1806, was renowned for her beauty and fashion leadership. She used, according to contemporary accounts, serous and other cosmetics liberally throughout her adult life. She suffered, according to documentation, from numerous health problems in her later years, including the loss of most of her teeth, chronic illnesses, and progressive debility. She died, according to death records, at age 48. Her daughter, according to the generational transmission, learned cosmetic practices from her mother. The younger Georgiana watched, according to her childhood observations, as her mother sat at the dressing table each day having her face painted white. She understood, according to the lesson taught, that this was what beautiful, fashionable women did. When she reached, according to the timing, the appropriate age, she began using Ceres herself, continuing the family tradition of poisoning for beauty. Meet the Countess of Sandwich, Anne and Trace, according to family history. 3 generations of Ceres use. Anne's grandmother, according to family tradition, used Ceres from the 1720s until her death in the 1750s. Anne's mother, according to the next generation, learned the practice from her mother and used Ceres from her debut in 1745 through the rest of her life. She died, according to the outcome, in her early 40s of mysterious wasting illness. Anne, according to the pattern continuing, learned from her mother and began using Ceres at her debut in 1770. According to your awareness as Anne, you know that Ceres is harmful. You've heard, according to the information, doctors warn against it. You've watched, according to direct observation, your mother sicken and die, showing symptoms that you now suspect were connected to cosmetics. But according to the trap, you don't know how to exist in your social world without Ceres. Your entire identity, according to construction, has been built around being beautiful and fashionable. The Ceres, according to its necessity, isn't optional. It is who you are. You've already, according to the progression, begun showing symptoms. You are 28, according to your age, and you've been using Ceres for 11 years. Your teeth, according to the damage, are beginning to loosen. Your skin underneath the makeup, according to deterioration, looks increasingly grey and rough. You have, according to chronic complaints, frequent headaches and stomach problems. You know, according to your recognition, that you are following the same trajectory as your mother and grandmother. You are going to sicken, according to the inevitability, and die young. But according to your choices, you can't see an alternative. This is your family's tradition, your social class's expectation, your world's requirement. You continue, according to the daily ritual, painting poison on your face. Think about the tragedy of these family patterns. According to the dynamic, daughters watched their mothers suffer and die from Ceres use, then took up the same practice themselves. The knowledge, according to its transmission, was there. The connection, according to its visibility, could be made. But the social pressure, according to its power, was strong enough that even watching your mother die wasn't enough to make you stop doing what killed her. Now let's examine how Ceres use was depicted in art, because according to art history, the painted portraits of 18th century women preserve the evidence of their deadly beauty practices. The portraits, according to their documentation, show faces of extreme, unnatural whiteness. The whiteness, according to artistic representation, wasn't just how the women's skin naturally looked. It was, according to the reality, Ceres that the portrait painters were faithfully rendering. Meet Frénois Boucher, a famous French painter working in the mid-negative 18th century. According to your artistic practice, you paint portraits of wealthy, aristocratic women. When a woman, according to the commission process, hires you to paint her portrait, she appears for the sittings, according to the expectation, in full makeup including Ceres. You paint, according to your job, what you see. The result, according to the finished portrait, is a face of stark, almost luminous whiteness with spots of vivid rouge on the cheeks. Some of your subjects, according to their requests, ask you to make them even paler in the portrait than they appear in life. White skin, according to the ideal, signifies nobility and beauty. The whiter, according to the logic, the better you paint. According to the artistic choices, faces that look like white porcelain or marble, barely human in their pallor. The effect, according to contemporary taste, is considered the height of beauty. To modernize, according to the perception, The portraits look deathly, corpse-like, almost ghastly. But according to 18th century aesthetics, this was perfection. The portraits, according to their unintended documentation, now serve as historical evidence of the extent of Cirrus use. Art historians, according to their analysis, can look at 18th century portraits and see the lead poisoning in the faces. The extreme pallor, according to what it indicates, shows heavy Cirrus use. The slightly greyish or yellowish undertone visible in some portraits, according to what it suggests, might be showing the skin damage that the Cirrus only partially covered. The closed mouths in later portraits of the same woman, according to the interpretation, might be hiding missing teeth. According to portrait patterns, wealthy families commissioned portraits of daughters at their social debuts, then sometimes again at marriage, and occasionally in later life. When you compare, according to the progression visible, portraits of the same woman at different ages, you can sometimes see the deterioration. The young woman at 17, according to the first portrait, has a fresh, healthy appearance even under the Cirrus. The same woman at 30, according to the second portrait, looks harder. The skin texture visible underneath the white paint looks coarser. At 40, according to the third portrait, if she lived that long, she might have a haggard, worn appearance, despite the layers of Cirrus attempting to create a smooth mask. Meet Marie Anna Perret-Pauls, better known as Madame Lavoisier, the wife of the famous chemist Antoine Lavoisier. According to her portraits painted in the 1780s and 1790s, she appears with the fashionable extreme pallor of the era. She was, according to historical records, an intelligent woman who assisted her husband in his chemistry work. She had, according to her education, enough understanding of chemistry to know that lead was toxic. Yet, according to the portraits, she wore Cirrus like every other fashionable woman of her class. The irony, according to its bitter nature, is striking. She worked, according to her partnership with her husband, in a laboratory where careful attention was paid to the properties and effects of different chemical substances. She knew, according to her knowledge, that lead was poisonous, yet she painted, according to the evidence of her portraits, lead on her face daily. The social pressure, according to its power, could override even scientific knowledge. Even a woman who understood chemistry, according to the testament to fashion's power, couldn't escape the requirement to poison herself for beauty. Now let's explore the attempts to create safer alternatives to Cirrus, because according to entrepreneurial efforts, some cosmetics makers tried to develop white makeup that wasn't as toxic. These attempts, according to their history, generally failed either because the alternatives weren't as effective at creating the desired pallor, or because they were, according to the bitter irony, also toxic in different ways. Meet Pierre Fronoy Charon, a Parisian perfumer and cosmetics maker in 1780. According to your business innovation, you are trying to develop a white cosmetic that can achieve the same effect as Cirrus, but without the deadly lead. You are concerned, according to your motivation, both by genuine desire to protect your customers and by business calculation, that a safe alternative could be very profitable. You've experimented, according to your trials, with various white substances. You've tried, according to one attempt, bismuth subnitrate, also called pearl white. Bismuth, according to your belief, might be safer than lead. The bismuth paste, according to the result, creates a lovely opalescent white finish on skin. But according to the problems, bismuth has issues. It is more expensive, according to the cost, than lead. It doesn't, according to performance comparison, cover skin imperfections quite as well as Cirrus does. And bismuth, according to what you don't realize, is also toxic, though less acutely so than lead. Your safer alternative, according to the reality, is still poison. You've tried, according to another experiment, zinc oxide mixed with rice powder and starch. This combination, according to its properties, is genuinely less toxic than lead or bismuth. But according to the practical problems, it doesn't achieve the pure, brilliant white that fashionable women want. The finish, according to the result, looks chalky rather than luminous. It doesn't, according to performance, adhere to skin as well as serous and tends to flake off during the day. Women who try it, according to their feedback, are unsatisfied and return to using serous. You advertise, according to your marketing, your bismuth-based cosmetic as perfectly safe, pearl white, guaranteed free from all harmful substances. The claim, according to its truthfulness, is false. Bismuth is harmful, just differently harmful than lead. But according to advertising practices of the era, there is no regulation stopping you from making exaggerated safety claims. Some women, according to your customer base, do buy your pearl white, preferring to believe it is safer. Others, according to skepticism or conservatism, stick with traditional serous, not trusting new products. According to market reality, the safer alternatives never gained, according to their market share, more than a small fraction of the cosmetics market. Serous remained, according to its dominance, the standard white face paint throughout the 18th century and into the 19th. The alternatives failed, according to the reasons, partly because they didn't work as well, partly because they were more expensive, and partly because tradition and habit, according to human nature, are powerful forces. Women used what their mothers had used, what their friends used, what had always been used. Meet Anna Maria Luisa de Medici, the last Medici, who died in 1743. According to historical accounts, she was a great patron of the arts and a woman of considerable intelligence and culture. She used, according to contemporary beauty standards, serous throughout her adult life. In her later years, according to her health, she suffered from numerous ailments. When she died, according to some historical speculation based on her symptoms, lead poisoning from cosmetics was likely a contributing factor. She had, according to her circumstances, access to the best medical advice available, connections to scholars and scientists, and unlimited financial resources. Yet she, according to the power of beauty culture, still poisoned herself with serous. Now let's examine the religious and moral perspectives on cosmetics. Because according to theological debates, religious leaders had complex and sometimes contradictory views on beauty practices. According to some religious teaching, particularly in Protestant traditions, excessive attention to physical beauty was considered vain and sinful. Elaborate cosmetics, according to this view, demonstrated worldly pride and concern with superficial appearance rather than spiritual substance. But according to the complicating factor, even religious critics of cosmetics, often according to their unconscious assumptions, still expected women to maintain proper appearance. Meet Reverend John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, who preached against vanity and elaborate dress in the mid-18th century. According to his sermons, he criticized excessive attention to fashion and beauty. As signs of spiritual corruption, he urged, according to his teaching, his followers to embrace simplicity and reject worldly vanity. His words, according to their target, were particularly aimed at women, whom he saw as especially susceptible to the sins of pride and vanity. But according to the analysis of his message, even Wesley didn't advocate for women to appear slovenly or unkempt. He wanted, according to his ideal, women to be neat and clean without being fashionable or painted. The line, according to its vagueness, between acceptable neatness and sinful vanity was not clearly defined. In practice, according to the outcome, even Methodist women often felt pressure to maintain appearance that required at least some cosmetics use. According to Catholic perspectives, cosmetics weren't necessarily seen as sinful in themselves, but excess, according to moral theology, was condemned. Moderation, according to the teaching, was key. A woman could, according to acceptable behavior, use some enhancement of her appearance without sin, but going to extremes, according to the judgment, showed vanity and excessive worldly concern. But according to the practical problem, what counted as moderation versus excess was subjective and culturally determined. In fashionable society, according to the standard, heavy serous use was considered normal and moderate. not excessive. Meet Madame de Maintenon, the secret second wife of King Louis IV Nif. According to her position, she was a powerful figure at the French court, but also known for her piety and eventually her religious devotion. She founded, according to her charitable work, a school for impoverished noble girls at St. Cyr. She promoted, according to her teaching, religious education and modest behaviour, yet according to the reality of court life, she still wore cosmetics, including cirrus as required by her position. Even a pious woman, according to the compromise, couldn't escape the beauty requirements of her social role. According to religious art from the period, even paintings of saints and the Virgin Mary often showed the influence of contemporary beauty standards, depicting them with the pale skin that was achieved in real life through cirrus. The ideal of pale skin, according to its penetration, was so deeply embedded in culture that it affected even religious imagery. The distinction between natural divine beauty and artificial cosmetic beauty, according to the blurring, became confused. Think about the impossible position religious women found themselves in. According to one set of rules, they were told that excessive attention to appearance was sinful vanity. According to another set of rules, they were told that women must maintain proper appearance to be respectable. The navigation, according to the difficulty between these contradictory demands, was treacherous. Many women, according to the compromise, tried to find a middle ground, using cosmetics, but perhaps feeling guilty about it, or using them while convincing themselves that their use was moderate and therefore acceptable. Now, let's look at what happened when families went into financial crisis from the expense of maintaining fashionable appearances. Because according to economic reality, keeping up with beauty standards was ruinously expensive for some families. The costs, according to the expenses, included not just the cosmetics themselves, but the entire infrastructure of maintaining a fashionable appearance. Ladies' maids' salaries, clothing, accessories, attendance at social events, entertaining. Some families, according to financial strain, went into debt trying to maintain appearances that their actual wealth couldn't support. Meet the Chevalier de St. Georges, a French nobleman whose family, according to their financial situation, was living beyond their means. Your wife and daughters, according to their practices, use expensive cosmetics from the best Parisian perfumers. The cirrus alone, according to the costs your household more each month than a skilled craftsman earns. Add in, according to the other expenses, the rouge, the perfumes, the powders, the beauty preparations, and the cosmetics budget. According to the total, is staggering. Your wife, according to her position, insists that these expenses are necessary. She cannot, according to her reasoning, appear in society looking unfashionable or poor. The family's reputation, according to her argument, depends on maintaining proper appearances. If she and your daughters, according to the fear, looked less fashionable than their peers, the family's social standing, according to the perceived threat, would suffer. Marriageable daughters, according to the stakes, needed to look their best to attract suitable husbands. Skimping on cosmetics, according to her firm belief, was a false economy that would cost more in lost opportunities than it saved in expenses. But according to your financial reality, you can't actually afford this lifestyle. You've been, according to your secret, borrowing money to cover household expenses. You've sold, according to desperate measures, some property and valuables. You are accumulating, according to the mounting problem, debts that you have no clear way to repay. The cosmetics that you are buying, according to the bitter irony, are literally poisoning your wife and daughters, while financially poisoning your entire family. According to historical records, some noble families did face financial ruin, partly because of the expense of maintaining fashionable appearances. The pressure, according to social reality, to keep up with wealthier families was intense. A family that, according to visible poverty, couldn't maintain proper appearance lost social standing, which could have real consequences for marriage prospects business connections, and patronage opportunity. The calculus, according to its cruel logic, sometimes did make spending money you didn't have on appearances seem rational, even as it drove families to bankruptcy. According to the final decline, your family's financial situation, according to the collapse, becomes untenable. Creditors, according to their pressure, demand payment. You cannot, according to bankruptcy, pay your debts. The family, according to the humiliation, faces social disgrace and financial ruin. Your daughter's marriage prospects, according to the outcome, are destroyed not because they didn't spend enough on their appearances, but because the family's bankruptcy became public. All that money spent on serous and cosmetics, according to the waste, achieved nothing except poisoning the women who wore it and contributing to the family's ruin. As we approach the end of our journey through this toxic beauty culture, let's consider the modern parallels and what we can learn from this history. The survivors, according to another dimension of impact, also had to live with the knowledge of what they'd done to themselves. Some women, according to letters and diaries, expressed regret and bitterness about the years they'd spent poisoning themselves for beauty. They had, according to their reflection, sacrificed their health for a social standard that, in retrospect, seemed less important than it had at the time. Meet Elizabeth, Duchess of Devonshire, in her final years before her 1806 death at 48. According to accounts from her friends, she spoke with regret about her use of cosmetics and the damage it had caused. She warned, according to her advice, younger women against the practices she had followed. But according to the tragedy, by the time she offered these warnings, her own health was ruined beyond repair. Her advice, according to its reception, was often dismissed as the complaints of an aging woman rather than heeded as wisdom from hard experience. As we approach the end of our journey through this toxic beauty culture, let's consider the modern parallels and what we can learn from this history. According to contemporary analysis, the 18th century serous phenomenon seems almost incomprehensible. How could women, according to our modern perspective, deliberately poison themselves for beauty? How could they continue doing so even when they saw friends die? But according to honest reflection, modern beauty culture has more in common with 18th century practices than we might like to admit. According to current reality, women today still face intense pressure to meet beauty standards. They still, according to behavior, use cosmetics and procedures that carry health risks. They still, according to the psychology, often prioritize appearance over well-being. Think about modern examples. According to cosmetic surgery statistics, procedures carry risks of complications, infection, and even death. Yet millions of procedures are performed each year. Women, according to documented cases, have died from complications of breast implants, liposuction, Brazilian butt lifts, and facelifts. The risks, according to medical reality, are known. Yet, according to the continued demand, women still line up for these procedures. The calculation, according to the psychology, is eerily similar to 18th century women's calculations about serous. The social value of meeting beauty standards, according to the judgment, seems worth the health risk. According to tanning bed usage, women expose themselves to cancer, causing UV radiation to achieve a beauty ideal of tan skin. The irony, according to the comparison, is particularly striking. While 18th century women poisoned themselves to be pale, modern women poison themselves to be tan. The specific aesthetic reversed according to the pattern, but the willingness to sacrifice health for the current beauty standard remained constant. Melanoma rates, according to dermatological statistics, have risen dramatically, with tanning bed use being a significant contributing factor. Women, according to the knowledge, know this. They tan anyway. According to extreme dieting and eating disorders, women damage their health in pursuit of an ideal body shape. Anorexia nervosa, according to mortality statistics, has one of the highest death rates of any mental illness. Bulimia, according to its effects, damages the esophagus, teeth, and heart. Extreme dieting, according to metabolic consequences, can cause lasting harm to the body's systems. The thigh gap, the flat stomach, the prominent collarbones, according to modern beauty standards, require many women to starve themselves. The parallel to Ceres, according to the comparison, is that both involved women accepting daily suffering to meet an arbitrary beauty standard. According to cosmetic products, while regulations are better now, some products still contain questionable ingredients and make exaggerated claims. Women, according to spending patterns, pour billions of dollars into anti-aging creams that promise to reverse time but often deliver minimal results. Some products, according to investigations, contain ingredients that may be endocrine disruptors, allergens, or carcinogens in high doses. The cosmetics industry, according to its regulation in many countries, is still largely self-policing with minimal government oversight. The echo of 18th century cosmetics sellers, according to the similarity, claiming their products were safe when they weren't, resonates in modern marketing. According to the nail salon workers' health crisis, women who work applying artificial nails, gel manicures, and nail polish are exposed to toxic chemicals, including toluene, formaldehyde, and dibutyl phthalate. These workers, according to health studies, suffer higher rates of respiratory problems, reproductive issues, and cancer. The parallel to 18th century Ceres factory workers, according to the pattern, is exact. Poor women, according to economic necessity, poison themselves making beauty products for wealthier women. The cycle of exploitation, according to its persistence, continues across centuries. According to hair straightening and bleaching practices, women expose themselves to harsh chemicals that can cause scalp burns, hair loss, and respiratory problems. Brazilian blowout treatments, according to formaldehyde exposure, have been found to release dangerous levels of formaldehyde that can cause cancer. Women, according to their choices, accept these risks to meet current hair beauty standards. Black women, according to additional pressure, face particular intensity of pressure to straighten their natural hair to meet Eurocentric beauty standards, creating racialized health risks parallel to how beauty standards in the 18th century were class-based. According to skin lightening practices, still common in many parts of the world, women use products containing mercury, hydroquinone, and steroids to lighten their skin. These products, according to health effects, can cause mercury poisoning, kidney damage, skin thinning, and permanent discoloration. The desire for lighter skin, according to its roots, often stems from colorism and racism. The direct parallel to 18th century Ceres, according to the comparison, is that women are still, in some contexts, poisoning themselves to achieve pale skin for the same reasons of social status and beauty standards. The practice, according to the tragedy, literally hasn't ended. It is just moved geographically. The parallel, according to the pattern, is that social pressure and beauty standards can override rational health concerns. The specific dangers change according to the times, but the willingness to sacrifice health for appearance persists. We haven't, according to this sobering assessment, entirely left the world where beauty could be worth dying for. We've just changed which poisons we're willing to use and which beauty standards we're willing to die for. According to feminist analysis, the 18th century Ceres phenomenon illustrates how patriarchal beauty standards literally kill women. The standards, according to their function, aren't about women's preferences or choices, they're about control. When women must paint themselves with poison to be socially acceptable, according to the dynamic, that is not choice. That is coercion dressed up in the language of beauty and fashion. The fact that men, according to gendered patterns, didn't use Ceres and didn't suffer its effects is significant. Men's value, according to social structure, didn't depend on achieving an artificial standard of facial perfection. Men's faces, according to acceptance, could be natural, tanned, scarred without social penalty. Women's faces, according to the different standard, had to be perfectly white, perfectly smooth, perfectly controlled. The difference, according to feminist critique, is about power, not about beauty. The modern parallel, according to the continuing pattern, holds men, according to appearance standards, face far less pressure to meet impossible beauty standards than women do. Men can age, according to acceptance, naturally, and be considered distinguished. Women who age naturally, according to social judgment, are often considered to have let themselves go. Men's bodies, according to the standard, can vary widely and still be acceptable. Women's bodies, according to the pressure, must meet narrower specifications to be considered attractive. The amount of time, money, pain, and risk, according to gendered expectations, that women are expected to invest in their appearance far exceeds what is expected of men. According to the lesson we should take from this history, we need to ask critical questions about current beauty standards. When a beauty practice requires, according to the assessment, significant expense, time, discomfort, or health risk, who benefits? When women must, according to requirements, meet appearance standards that men don't face, what does that reveal about gender inequality? When beauty standards, according to their effects, harm women's health, financial security, or well-being, should they be questioned rather than accepted? Think about who profits from women's insecurity about their appearance. According to economic analysis, the global beauty industry is worth over $500 billion annually. The anti-aging market alone, according to market research, is projected to reach $421 billion by 2030. Someone, according to the economic beneficiaries, is making enormous amounts of money from convincing women that their natural faces and bodies are unacceptable. The parallel to 18th century cirrus manufacturers, according to the pattern, is that then, as now, there were people profiting handsomely from selling women products that promised beauty but delivered harm. The women, according to compassionate understanding, who used cirrus in the 18th century weren't stupid or vain. They were, according to the reality, trapped in a social system that made their appearance more important than their health. They made, according to their choices, the best decisions they could within the constraints they faced. Some, according to the brave ones, resisted and paid social costs for their resistance. Most, according to the majority, complied and paid physical costs for their compliance. And women today, according to the same compassion, aren't stupid or vain for participating in beauty culture that may carry health risks. They're, according to the same dynamic, navigating a social system that places enormous importance on women's appearance. The judgment, according to fairness, shouldn't fall on individual women for the choices they make within constrained options. The judgment, according to proper targets, should fall on the systems and structures that create beauty standards that harm women, on the industries that profit from women's insecurity, and on the social hierarchies that value women's appearance over women's health and autonomy. Tonight, according to the hope, as you drift off to sleep, I want you to remember these women. Remember Marie Thurs painting poison on her face each morning, knowing somewhere deep down that it was harming her but unable to imagine an alternative. Remember Lady Catherine Howard dying at 22 with toxicity the doctors couldn't name, her brief life ending because pale skin mattered more than breathing. Remember Elizabeth trapped in a cycle where damaged skin required more of the makeup that damaged it, each day painting over the evidence of yesterday's poisoning. Remember Madame de Pompadour, powerful and glamorous and dead at 42, her legendary beauty bought at the price of her life. Remember Sarah Jennings, the Cirrus factory worker, dying young from making the poison that wealthy women would pay fortunes for. Remember Constance going blind from the lead in her cosmetics, her vision sacrificed to the beauty standard. Remember Antoinette dying of kidney failure, her organs destroyed by decades of daily poisoning. Remember Cecile having a stroke at 41, half her body paralysed but still, tragically, wearing cirrus daily. Remember the generations of mothers and daughters, grandmothers and granddaughters, passing down the deadly practice like a toxic inheritance. Remember the countless unnamed women who lost their health, their teeth, their children, and their lives to lead carbonate paste. The women whose names we'll never know, who suffered in anonymity, whose deaths were recorded as wasting sickness, or nervous complaints, or failure to thrive, when the real cause was poisoning in pursuit of beauty. Remember that every pale face in every 18th century portrait might represent a woman slowly dying from the very whiteness that made her beautiful. Remember them according to what we owe them, not with contempt for their vanity, but with sorrow for their oppression. They lived according to their courage, in a world that gave them impossible choices, and then judged them for making the choices that survival seemed to require. They suffered, according to the medical reality, terrible physical torment from a substance they were told was essential for beauty. They died, according to the tragedy, slow poisonous deaths while dressed in silk and pearls, their suffering hidden behind fans and gloves and the very makeup that caused it. They were, according to their humanity, women like us. They loved, according to their hearts, and hoped and dreamed. They worried about their children, according to their maternal instincts, and tried to do their best. They had, according to their full humanity, thoughts and feelings and desires beyond just appearance. But they lived, according to their historical moment, in a system that told them their value lay primarily in being beautiful, and that being beautiful required being pale, and that being pale required poison. The trap, according to its design, was perfect and deadly. May we, according to the lesson, question the beauty standards of our own time with the same critical eye we turn on the past. May we, according to the hope, recognize coercion when it is wrapped in the language of choice and empowerment. May we, according to the goal, build a world where women's worth doesn't depend on meeting impossible appearance standards. May we, according to the dream, see women's health and autonomy valued more than women's decorative perfection. May we, according to the action needed, support regulations that keep cosmetics safe and honest. May we, according to solidarity, extend compassion to women making difficult choices about beauty practices rather than judgment. May we, according to the systemic change, challenge the industries and structures that profit from women's insecurity. May we, according to the cultural shift, celebrate diverse forms of beauty and aging and natural variation. May we, according to the radical possibility, imagine a world where women are valued for their full humanity rather than their adherence to beauty norms. Sweet dreams, and may you wake tomorrow with deep gratitude for living in a time when your cosmetics won't kill you, with critical awareness of the beauty pressures that persist, with compassion for the women who suffered before safety regulations existed, and with determination to resist any beauty standard that asks you to sacrifice your health, your money, or your authentic self. May you remember that true beauty, according to what actually matters, has nothing to do with white lead paste and everything to do with being fully, healthfully, powerfully alive. May you wake, according to tomorrow's possibilities, with the courage to question rather than simply comply, with the wisdom to value health over appearance, with the strength to resist pressures that harm, and with the vision to imagine and work toward a world where all women can live in their natural skin, without shame or fear or poison. May you carry forward, according to the legacy, the memory of these women who suffered so we might learn, and may their deaths not have been entirely in vain if we can create something better from their tragedy. Thank you for spending this night with me, learning about these vanished women who painted their faces with poison and paid the price. Thank you for bearing witness to their suffering and for carrying forward the understanding that beauty should never ever cost your life. Thank you for listening to their stories, for honoring their memory, and for being willing to look honestly at the dark side of beauty culture, both past and present. Sleep well, and may you dream of a world where all women are free to live in their natural faces without shame, without pressure, without poison. Good night, and may your rest be peaceful and your morning bright with hope and clarity about what truly matters.